And welcome, everybody. It's been a couple of weeks. We're back, though, with Ask On Questions. We go live on Saturdays and answer questions that come into the website, askonquestions.com. Got Tony joining us from New Jersey. Thanks for jumping in.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Glad to be here.
So it's been a couple of weeks because you've been on the road, mostly. Well, yeah, right? 2 weeks you're on the road.
Yes, sir.
So
Yeah, 2 weeks.
what's been happening?
All right, cool. We had a diversity shoot, so I took off for that. You know, I've been gone 2 weeks from work. I think it was. Had a diversity shoot, did that. Amanda Suffolcool from Eye on the Target Radio, Women for Gun Rights, uh, Concealed Carry Fashion Show, and probably 7 other things that I don't even know she does behind the scenes. She contacted me as the NRA board member who has convinced the NRA to allow there to be independent podcasts on the floor show of the NRA. So she called me personally and invited me to be one of those shows. And I said yes. So I traveled down. I spent some time with my wife prior to, because my wife is a lot smarter than I am. And she said, hey, instead of going to the NRA show, touching 80,000, touching doorknobs that 80,000 people have touched and catching something and bringing it back to me, why don't you see me beforehand? We can hang out for a few days and then you can go down there and catch cooties on your own. So that's what I did. So I got there Thursday. Got a quick tutorial on how to run the equipment because I don't. I record the Second is for Everyone podcast. I record every podcast or a guest on podcast either through my phone or through my what do you call that? Not laptop. I like a iPad kind of thing. So I was like, I have a laptop. She said, bring the laptop. I'll give you the rest of the equipment. And that's what she did. I learned to use it. And I hosted 3 days of show on the floor of NRA, which is crazy. I had 5 people scheduled to interview because they gave me a 3-hour window that I was going to be on the floor from 9 a.m. to 12 to noon. So I scheduled High Point because they were doing a new release. And I was like, you want to be on the show? He said, hey, you want us to release it on the show? You'll be the first place we announce the High Point HP 15 AR. So I was the first podcast that ever had it on. And we did a live announcement at 9 o'clock when NRA opened up. So, yeah, my little Instagram was the first one. And it went on also X. And about 27,000 people saw it on X, which is cool because it has a counter on there so you can actually see that. So I interviewed him for an hour and a half, Dave from High Point. And then I interviewed Pete Brownell from Brownell's for, I think, an hour or maybe more than an hour. And those were the 2 people I had scheduled for Friday. And I ended up recording with 8 more people. So I think I recorded either 8 or 10 people Friday. And I got almost 6 hours of content. Saturday rolled around and I had 3 people scheduled. And I ended up, I think, doing 8 again. And then Sunday, it was just going to be me leaving at noon. And I ended up working until 2 o'clock and I probably got another 8.
Dang. And that's scheduling everybody ahead of time or like chatting?
People walked up to me.
There. Okay.
People walked up to me. I didn't get out of the chair Friday. Like, I didn't do anything away from that desk. And I actually had a booth. I didn't walk away from that booth until 11 when I ran to get something to eat. And I didn't get to finish consuming that until 4 o'clock when I got up again to use the bathroom. Those were the only times I was out because, and I know it's funny. It's interesting because I know that I know people. You know what I mean? Like I'm friends with people in the industry from 10 years of working, 12 years of working as an advocate. But when they heard I had a show and they wanted to be part of it, they came by, and I thought it was great because the NRA is trying something new. They wanted to work. And if people don't know, the NRA had that deal with their own publication company. What was the name of it? I forgot. Anyway, those people controlled every aspect of how the NRA was seen, and they would never free up floor space to have people with their own agendas and own perspectives showing NRA. They just wouldn't do it. And I think this is a new direction because there are Second Amendment advocates on the NRA board of directors, like Anthony Colangelo, like Amanda Suffolk, and now like Teresa Einacker and John Richardson, who know you need to actually appeal to a bunch of different people and not just the same old if you want the NRA to grow and if you want people to feel that the NRA represents them and their interests. So they were thrilled, and I think kind of blown away because I don't think anybody had as many people come through as I did. Most people booked within that 3 hour window. Most people were smarter than I was and didn't realize that they'd have to edit all this after they left. They knew how much editing was involved, but this is the first time that I actually recorded it prior and didn't just put it out. So I have a lot of work to do to upload everything, and I got to figure out how to. I think I'm going to be putting out like 2 podcasts a week for the foreseeable, like for the next month, if not more than 2 podcasts a week, because I want to get those interviews out in a timely manner. I interviewed Adam Kraut from Second Amendment Foundation, who is, I think he's like the vice president, Second Amendment Foundation.
I think he's
I
president
interviewed,
now.
he's the president. I'm sorry.
I think so.
I interviewed, um, I interviewed John Farna, who is GOA's dude who does all the shows. I forgot what his official title was. I did ask him, but I didn't. He puts together all the goals convention and all of the like the Arizona Second Amendment Foundation. I mean Second Amendment. What was it? Arizona Second Amendment rally. That now is GOA.
Yeah.
So he's in charge of like all of that overall charge of all that. So I interviewed him, Zeke Stout from Modern Gun School, also from the Discovery TV show. What was the name of that show on Discovery? It was really cool.
I never
I
watched it.
liked it. It was a really good show. You should check it out because it was like Forged in Fire, but about firearms. And it was done well. And it just happened to come out, and they got a season of it out. But, one mass shooting changes the way these people were willing to see firearms related content. So they didn't get renewed only because of timing. Zeke Stout, um, an author named Barry, what is his name? Barry Todd, who was in an actual self defense incident in Arizona, and they tried to lock him away in jail, even though it was all on video and it was 2 people attacking him, one armed with a knife, with video evidence that he was a victim of the crime. And it didn't make any difference because the prosecutor locked in and had a political goal instead of justice. So he came by and he did his thing. Ursula Williams, I interviewed her, which if people don't know who Ursula is, she's a three gun competitor. She's a shotgun shooter. She actually was on the American team in the world shotgun shoot, and they were third in the world. um,
That's a lot of Arizona people. Could have just come out here to Arizona instead of going to NRA.
some dang cost when it really comes down to it, right? But it was a lot of money. Driving around in Atlanta. Oh, I ended up getting a Kia Soul, which, if any of you know, I'm the largest pound for pound gun bunny in America, and for a reason. And the reason is I can't fit in a Kia Soul, or at least I didn't think I could. Those things have more room inside than you think.
Hmm.
It was actually pretty comfortable for inner city driving because
So
it
you
allowed me to
flew
fly
and
in and
then
out.
rented a car?
Nope, I drove down in a RAV4 from Jersey because I hate flying. And I carry my firearm with me, and the pure agita of being left to the whims of whatever counter person can't read or comprehend their own rules when I
Yep.
come through with my firearm is
Yep.
just annoying, especially when you go into Atlanta, a city known for its violent crime rate. Even though I hope somebody can find it because I bring it up a lot. Whatever city the NRA and crime or violent crime drops to zero in the area that the convention is in, someone actually tracked that a few years ago, and they actually had a they went back and had a catalog of it, little red pens throughout the city a week prior to NRA arriving, the day NRA arrived, the 3 days the show is, and then the Monday after the show's over, you just watch the dots start reappearing.
Hmm.
But when NRA is there, very few violent crime 911 calls. So we're starting to get some questions in. You want me to answer that first one about High Point from Woods?
Here you're looking at the stars there. So they're talking about the High Point AR one. Let's do that
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
All right, cool. So High Point came by. They already told me about it, which is really cool. They told me it was coming. They said something was dropping. They didn't tell me. Um, and then, like a day before, he told me. So I got really excited. He came over with it, and my podcast is a lot of discussion about it. No, they didn't say anything about anything else coming out. Doesn't mean it's not. Doesn't mean it is, because again, they didn't tell me what was out until the day before the event, the release. I think it's a really good thing because it has a sub $500 price point. At the time, they thought it was 500 or slightly above, and now everything I'm seeing is saying 500 and below. I think it's great and it tracks. I looked at it, right? I handled it. I popped the bolt out because I had time. You know, I'm doing a long form show. And please, when you listen to the show, if the bolt and charging handle running gets on your nerves, I do apologize, but understand I was looking at it for the first time while it was going, and I'm talking, my way through it as we're having this discussion. So I'm checking everything from the trigger pull, fit and finish. I'm looking for machine marks inside. So I really did check it out. They said they just gotten that firearm 2 days before they drove down. So it hadn't even got fired yet. So
So it's
it's just a basic AR. hmm Go ahead.
for people that haven't paid attention or watched it or anything, an aluminum AR. That was a big question. Everybody said it's not Zamic like the
Uh-huh.
points. It's a regular aluminum AR.
Yeah, it's regular mil spec AR, 7075 aluminum, T1 aluminum, just like every other one. Trigger is a little bit better because it looks like it's MP3 coated. So it is like a 6 pound trigger, but it's a 6 pound trigger with no creep and no like grit. So just a very clean break. It's a heavy break, but it's clean. It's a heavy pull, but a clean break. Um, and truthfully, if you're getting an ARs and you already have a high point, because I believe the high point carbine is the best deal in pistol caliber carbines in existence. For the money that you pay, you get a solid blowback operated firearm that is, it used to be 50 state legal until other states got stupid, but pretty much illegal across the nation, easy to shoot, doesn't have a lot of recoil, and is available in calibers from 30 super carry up to 10 millimeter. I think it's a great deal. They, and again, I am friends with the people that own High Point. I've had conversations behind the scenes, like real conversations as friends with where High Point wants to go. If you listen to the Second is for Everyone podcast on Spotify, I did an interview with Dave and we talked about this, I guess, last year doing the Great American Outdoor Show. But again, we've had these conversations. They want to be able to arm people with their first gun. They want to help people out who can't afford more expensive firearms. Because some people don't understand because they live in a free state. In New Jersey, it's going to cost you if you want a long gun. if you want a rifle or a shotgun. It's still going to cost you probably about $200 before you get to the gun with the fingerprints and the paperwork to get your firearms ID card. So when you're talking about, well, how much is a gun anyway? Why can't you save up, $400? Because you're not saving up only $400. You're saving up $600. Like your budget has to include the permission you have to pay for from the state. So what High Point's doing now is putting out America's Rifle from a solid manufacturer. Everything looks good. Again, haven't shot it, only dry fired the hell out of it. Um, from they're putting out America's Rifle from American manufacturer in a price range that is good for the first time gun buyer. But it's good for something else. And this is what I say in every review I did. High Point is a great meme gun, and it has the High Point roll marks on the side. So if you want to annoy the heck out of the internet and have a great time with it, dude, make your 46 HK 416 clone with a High Point lower. You know what I'm saying? You make your friggin' high end rifle, put everything on it, but use a High Point lower. I think it's great. Because I asked for one specifically, one to have it at my shoots because again, $500 AR. But I'm going to turn it into a meme rifle, and I'm going to introduce people to firearms with it because again, the price point can't be beat at $500, especially since Delton has retired. Delton is closed, so that's manufactured. Delton closed, and Wyndham Weaponry is closed. Wyndham Weaponry is closed. So those are two AR manufacturers that are no longer here. High Point
Arrow.
has stepped into the breach.
So is
Arrow went out.
and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that people are saying stuff about Arrow. So
Mm-hmm.
what's up with? Are they whittling the gun out of metal there, or are they buying it and having it made with their uh, what's that called variants, and then
Mm-hmm.
assembling them there? Do you know?
I don't know what they want told, but they don't have. They're not making it in house. I know. I've heard them say that
Okay, because I
they're
mean,
not
it's not
making
like
it
it's a
in
big
house.
deal. Like that's not a secret or anything. I mean, basically, the one of the things about the AR platform is that it's what they call like mil spec, but that just means that
Mm-hmm.
it's um, it's a design that
Don't
the
disrespect.
military created or whatever, and everybody works off that design. So things like the upper and lower interface is the same. People might change the look of the lower or change something about the upper, but the interface between the upper and lower, they're going to leave that the same. Like the interface between the bolt carrier and the upper, they're going to leave that part the same. So there's these like places where
I
the things are going to be what's the word, like joined together. But
Yeah.
um, not everybody wants something that's not every manufacturer can take the time to tool up, and not everybody wants to tool up. The ARs are
So
unique because you can buy the parts and assemble them to your spec, and now it's a gun built to your spec, and that's the same as like I always say, think of a I don't know, a long range AR versus a hunting AR versus a three
hmm
gun AR. They're all going to be a little different. Somebody that's an expert in one of those, or three different experts in each of those fields are going to make their ARs to that spec, and people looking for those guns are going to want them. But anyway, so that was a question. And I don't think it would have been that big a deal one way or the other because they are a manufacturer. Like if they did decide, hey, we're going to whittle these out of metal ourselves, I'd have been like, oh, that's cool. But if they're not, I don't care. Like they're not buying them from China; they're buying them from
yeah.
one of the manufacturers. So I guess I was also going to say that most people who are paying attention know that almost all the AR receivers come from what, five places mainly, three of them
Yeah. They're
really,
very.
five altogether.
Yep. Yep.
So I mean that may have changed a little bit, but so these companies are kicking out the things, and they'll just make them to a variance. Some company decides they want to
hmm
make an AR. Some gun shop can make an AR. Tony could make an AR. Go to one of these
Yep.
companies, and they would just do the variants to make it in your roll marks or whatever your names, and then you'd be selling them through your whatever resources. So in this case,
Yeah,
they're
I would.
from somewhere and having
Yeah,
them marked hard point, like you're saying.
and I think it's great because it's a basic AR, carbine link gas system. I wish it was mid length, but it's carbine link gas system, and they still got their lifetime warranty on it. Now it's lifetime within reason. You know what I mean? It's like you can't replace every single part on the gun and only have the low and upper receiver be from high point and then go, hey, something broke. Well, you replaced everything, dog. You replaced every internal on it. You put a new barrel on it, new gas. It's like it comes to a point they can't warranty that, but they're still working on it, which is really cool. So I think it's great. Um, Again, I like the company and I know where they were headed. They want to be able to supply people with this firearm in every state. Charlie, the owner of MKS Supply, which, excuse me, is that it? MKS? Anyway, the owner of High Point ran for the NRA board of directors for the 76 seats, so he needed signatures, but it didn't make it this time. He didn't have enough. But he's running again because he's 100% serious about being a 2A advocate and just helping people. I mean, they gave me high points for the diversity shoot just on a handshake. Not even Tony advertised this, talk about it, just nothing. They were like, we think the work you do is important here.
Yep, I've met him, and he's definitely that type of person. He doesn't need to take credit. He's just happy to facilitate things that are happening out there. I've seen him do that, so myself, and I've only met him one time, really. So I was going to ask. That was the big thing. I was hanging out with Matt and Yankee the other day, and they were ragging on that. It's made out of Zamic, and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure it's aluminum. I know from somebody
Yeah.
talking about it that it was aluminum. And then they were like, who wants to buy a High Point? And I don't know how out of touch they fucking are, but I mean, there's a shit ton of people that just like High Points, period. And then there's
Oh, yeah.
people that like them ironically, and then there's people that like them, like you say, for the memes and shit. And then there's people that, what do you like? The boat gun or the I'm putting this at the hunting cabin type.
Yep.
So it's like those people that just don't want to spend a fortune on their secondary gun level stuff, or just people growing up. And I don't know how again, it's a lot different nowadays when everybody buys their first guns when they're 40 or 30, and they can have all the
Hmm.
money to spend on them, so they're buying CZs and shit out the gate. But the rest of us probably had a gun or two when we were kids. We upgraded from a BB gun. Maybe when you're young, you bought a shotgun or something, because there was no CCW back in the day. There was no need to buy a pistol right off the bat unless you were really into pistol shooting for some reason. So a practical gun to buy would have been a rifle or a shotgun back in the day. And maybe you bought a gun because you liked it in a movie or whatever, but guns were expensive back then, and it wasn't the same kind of gun culture we got today. But anyway, we would buy, at least all of my friends, my peers, when I was younger, I guess it's sort of the 90s. We bought what we
Hmm.
could afford, which was police buybacks and cheap shit. So
Yep.
you buy something cheap, you take it to the range a bunch of times, and you go, you know what? I'd rather have something I can take to the range and it's going to live through being at the range a bunch of times. But it's like buying a fire extinguisher and going, oh, I can only put out one fire with it. Yeah, no shit, it's a fire extinguisher. If you want to put out multiple fires, you buy a hose, right? Like you buy a different piece of equipment if you want to use it every day. But there's some firearms out there that are meant to be used occasionally, and there's some that are meant that can be used constantly, and then there's some that are super rugged and can be used in all kinds of conditions, and there's all kinds of buyers out there. So anyway, I guess I'm getting at as we transitioned back in the day, you would buy something that you could afford, and then sometimes you'd sell it, but what was the point? You'd buy $100, $200 gun. What's the point of selling it for $50 or $75, right? You just keep it and buy a $300 gun. Then maybe later on you buy a $500 gun and another $500 gun, right? Like once you start making money, once you get older or whatever, you get better jobs or you get raises. But a lot of people transition through those High Points as their first guns. And unlike some of the companies that also made cheap guns that are no longer around because the companies are no longer here, High Point's still here. And they didn't make just an inexpensive gun. They made an inexpensive gun that you could take to the range often. So I think they have a fan base that's I don't know, like having like a Chevy or a Ford fan base. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like they make a couple of hot rods, but a lot of people like Fords because they got a truck and they just like having a dependable truck, or they have a Chevy because they got a truck, or they got a commuter vehicle and they like it, or they got their minivan or something. So
Yeah, that's the way.
I think I
That's the
point
way
that's
they actually expressed it. They were like, "We have the entry level guns for many people, but there was nowhere else to go. You leave the brand after you got, your high point pistol, your high point carbine. There was no other high point product that you purchased unless you got another one in a different caliber or a different finish. But this gives them another step. They're still in the high point realm. They still have a good gun. No, it is not Zun. No, it's not made of zinc, whatever. It is an aluminum, mil spec, regular, run of the mill AR 15, but it has the high point roll mark. It has the high point lifetime warranty. And it gives you something under $500. Again, keeping you there. Also, they have the 10.5 inch 5.56 and 10.5 inch 300 blackout available as handguns that you can obviously, SBR, and now you have an SBR for $700 total. A total SBR for $700. That's insane. And it's at that price point, and you can replace everything on it. If you want a better barrel, put on a better barrel. You know what I mean? A longer barrel, a different gas system, a da 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 da, on down to every single part. Just understand that you're probably at some point, past the things that they can warranty, but it's a regular AR. If anything fails, more than likely it'll be whatever new part you put on it,
that's
or
a
to
whole nother
just be column stack.
discussion. As you mentioned, as you're saying that, I'm sitting here thinking, at what point do you like? I can see changing a part or two on a gun, like especially an AR.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
bolt guns and stuff are different, but an AR, like I can see changing a part or two. I can even see changing out like the upper. That's pretty common. Like buy a lower or buy a whole gun and then just buy a bunch of different uppers for it. Some people do that. That doesn't always work because different uppers will have different characteristics and need different buffer weights and shit. So sometimes that doesn't just, they're not all, just swap out. But when you're saying that, I'm thinking there's a point when I'm no longer upgrading this AR anymore. I'm starting with a new AR and I'm just leaving this AR because I don't know. There's maybe 10 ARs, depending how big your safe is. Like at some point, there's too many ARs, but certainly 3 or 4 ARs is no big deal. Like that's like, there's nothing wrong with having 3 or 4 ARs, especially when they're different from each other. And then there's nothing wrong with having 3 ARs that are exactly the same if you've got reason to need 3 ARs that are exactly the same. So there's nothing wrong with having 3 to 8 ARs, really. So that's where I'm like hesitant about the whole like buy this gun at $500 and swap out the barrel and swap out the stock and swap out the pistol grip. I'd be like, stop it already. Quit spending money on this gun because now you could have just bought another gun the way you wanted it. There's other way you wanted it. It'd be like if you were going to buy I don't know, a long range one and you wanted to make a carbine out of it, not just buy a second one. Because by the time you buy all the parts to make a carbine, just make one into the other, you might as well just buy the other gun and have two guns. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I thought I'd put that out there that I
Well,
don't want people
depends
to
on
think
where you're from.
out
Well,
forever.
depends on where you're from. Depends on where you're from. Depends on where the rules are, where you're from,
Oh, that's a
or
good
what.
point.
Yeah, what the expense is of getting that second gun, or the chances of getting that second gun. Um, and yeah, it comes to a point where you just become addicted to buying parts. But it's like, all right, you got this 16 inch, what it is. Let's go with this high point, what it is right now. Again, has a decent trigger, but it has, M16A2. It has an A2 pistol grip. All right, that's something you can change out with a screw. So you put a new pistol grip, and then it has a regular, GI adjustable buttstock. Oh well, I want something from enter whoever's name you want to put. All right,
Now
cool.
you're
That's
probably
something
at
you can.
$100 for both of those pistol grip and stock, right? Somewhere
Yeah,
around $100. Okay.
yeah, 100, depends on what you go with. But boom, you put these cool things on, and you like it, and you're shooting it, and it's fun. Then you fall down the accessory rabbit hole, and you're looking at everybody's stuff, right? And you're like, yeah, maybe I want. I'll go ahead and throw Timber Creek because it has some color, and This is not the old guys who all this is a totally new generation of gun owner who was watching video games and they're getting skins for their gun in a video game of different colors and everything. So they go with Timber Creek Outdoors, right? Timber Creek has like a lot of color. They have aluminum parts that are what do you call it? Anodized aluminum parts. All right, I'm going to change out the handguard, the mag release, and the bolt release to make them three different colors.
Another
All
$100.
right, cool. Oh no, no. You probably just dropped on that about 250 to 300 to $400.
Well, let's say 300 then. So now you're at 400
Okay, so
for
you've
just the
doubled the
upgrade
price of the
part.
gun.
Yeah.
You've doubled the price of the gun with the parts you've put on it, but it's exactly what you want. It's your gun. You're having a great time, and you're 2 years into the firearms ownership.
And you
You take
have
it to
a
the
stock, a grip, and all those black parts that you took off and replaced them with like blue parts or whatever.
yeah, whatever. But you got that, and
But
you're
I'm just
learning
saying,
to
like,
work your gun.
because at the same time you're adding parts to this AR, you're creating a
Parts coming
shadow
off.
AR over here that all you need to do is swap a receiver onto it, and you got your first gun back almost.
Uh-huh. So, and that's what will eventually happen. And now I don't know if High Point's going to sell parts, or maybe they'll just stick to rifles. You know what I mean? But will you get a
Well,
stripped High Point lower for $49 at some point?
right. Well, that's what I was gonna. Two questions I was gonna still ask you is because then okay, so I was talking to Matt, watching Matt and Yankee talk. I wasn't talking to him. I haven't seen the gun, and I only seen your video or something. So I didn't.
Hmm.
It's not like I know a ton about it. I guess I shouldn't say that. I've seen people talk of it, but I didn't pay much attention because I knew at some point I'd know more about it. I wasn't anyway. So they're talking more about it than I am. But basically, that was
Hmm.
their other thing. Is like, is this hype or is this like a business decision or what? And that's what I was going to say is ask you, do you think, I mean, you kind of said already, but I think a factor of this is that they know people are going to buy a high point, uh,
Hmm.
anything. You can make a high point shotgun. People are going to buy it. Like Woods is asking, they can make revolvers and shotguns. They could make a high point revolver. People would buy the crap out of it. They could make anything. And I think people would buy it. I mean, I don't know if it would be the best seller ever in the world, but I don't think they'd have them on the shelves. I think they'd sell pretty much anything they put out.
So, yeah, because we were actually talking about that because I'm like, well, what's your next step in handgun? I was like, because a High Point Glock clone would be a good idea. Everybody's putting them out. They're selling like hotcakes. I mean, Ruger just put one out. Um, and we have like a Lone Wolf. They have theirs. Daria Arms, which is working through importing their Gen 3 Glock clone through Rock Island. And now Rock Island also has a metal Glock Gen 3 clone. Actually, they got three of them. Who else? Live Free Armory. They have a Glock. So just company after company after company is making Glock Gen 3 clones. I think that'd be a good idea for High Point to go if the next step. You go from the big old was it Zyclan,
Zamek,
the zinc Zamek
ZAMAK.
pistol. Yeah, you go from the Zamek pistol to a John Browning system or another system. There's no reason for them not to be able to do that. Coming from an American manufacturer, it'd be pretty cool if it was made in America. But even if you import it from somewhere, hell, hasn't slowed Springfield Armory down. Come out with an M9 clone. You know what I mean? What you call it does it. Gearson has one, M9 clone. Taurus has an M9 clone. Yeah, Daria Arms, Taurus, and Gerson all have M9 Beretta 92 clones. That's a solid pistol, solid design. Who knows? I think it would be a great idea, though.
Most of the time, people are thinking of like, what's on the menu at other places? Like, what do I want? Right? Like, people are thinking of it usually from their side out, right? Like, when I'm not dissing, I mean, everybody's going to do that. But
Uh-huh.
I think realistically, you got to look at it from their side out or their side forward because, well, what Glock did to disrupt the industry when he came out with his gun in the 80s was he sat down. He was already making plastic, so he was familiar with the plastic technology, and he was making some contracts for the government. He heard about the gun contract. He wasn't a gun maker or nothing, but he wanted that contract. He was familiar with doing government contracts. So, long story short, when he got that government contract for Austria, he didn't have an existing gun company. That contract gave him the money to create the gun company. So he created a gun company from the ground up to make the Glock, which, when you
Mm-hmm.
think about it, a plastic gun, that was a plastic factory, or, a factory focused around plastic. What disrupted the industry is that all the other gun companies, except for HK, were making metal guns. So they were making things out of steel. Since the beginning of time, guns were made out of steel, right? I guess for a while they made out of brass a little bit, but for the most part, steel. And then just a little bit before the Glock got in there, right as the Glock was getting in there was this concept of like aluminum framed guns and maybe scandium or titanium once in a while for a revolver, right? But basically, it was still carving metal. So all the machines, all the factories, all the skill sets, all the tooling at every gun company was how to carve big chunks or tubes of metal into guns. And then Glock comes along and says, we're going to take mold machines and squish plastic parts by the hundreds from plastic pellets into plastic parts that, if they're not in tolerance, we shred them and turn them into plastic shreds again. So they just reuse them into guns again. So it disrupted. So that's where I'm looking at, now a company like High Point, for example, who's used to working with Zamic, which is it's a cool material. It allows you to get an inexpensive material with a low melting point, so that it doesn't require a lot of high uh, refined tools. It can use regular tools, and it doesn't wear out those tools. So you can make the guns not just because the materials are cheaper, because the materials are, I guess, cheaper, but because you're not destroying your tooling to make the guns like steel is. Plastic's a little different too, because it doesn't destroy the tooling to make the Glock, right? Like, or the plastic guns. So Zamic is a neat material and everything, but they can't just go from metal to, or Zamic working to, whatever process is going on there, to just make revolvers out of stainless steel or something. Like, that's a whole nother thing, right? So either going to outsource that whole thing and have Smith and
Mm-hmm.
Wesson do it and put their name on it, and then have to pay that middleman charge, which nobody is going to pay for, or all the investment in tooling and stuff. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, they'd be cool if they made shotguns. Yeah, I mean, it would be great,
Mm-hmm.
but who's going to pay for the machines and the technology and all that? Like, unless they bought like H&R or something, you know what I mean? Like, then it's a whole different story. But
Well, I think people need to chill the hell out. I mean, it's hilarious that people went from the public, and I don't blame them. It was kind of exciting. But a company like High Point went from selling what they sell to selling ARs, which and it's like, all right, well, what are you going to sell shotguns or revolvers next? What are you going to do? It's like, they haven't sold the first one of these yet. Could you give them a chance to recoup some of the money and show them it was a good idea and that the market is ready for other High Point firearms? Give them a few years here. Go out and buy a couple, and let them know that they're heading in the right direction so they can invest that money. But first thing, they have to make it back. You know what I mean? First thing, it has to show that it was a good idea to do this. I think it is, and I'd love for High Point to take the next step and the next step. And people continually forget a meme gun is a real thing. Getting a High Point and doing crazy stuff to it because it's affordable and you can put crazy stuff on it. Me personally, I want to get it and hydro dip it in $100 bills. I want to get the $100 bill High Point AR, because it's funny and it can go with the $100 bill grips I got on my High Point pistol. Uh, and then there's other things, other ways you can build it out. Heck, have a contest with it. I don't care. But I want American companies to succeed. One of the companies I actually did an interview with was Ross Martin. I got the owner of Ross Martin, and him and I had a conversation about 45 minutes, which was really cool, talking about their product, another American made handgun company out of Texas. I think it's great. I think it's wonderful that these firearms companies are here in America producing a product, and now we got tariffs going on, and some of these other companies who get their parts from overseas are going to have maybe supply issues or supply chain issues, or they're going to have to raise their prices to go along with the tariffs. I don't know, but this is a great time for American companies to shine, and I hope they do, even though some companies have fallen by the wayside. But it's, it's known as a Trump slump. When he gets in, people slow down because they don't feel their Second Amendment rights are being attacked as much, and they're going to be banned. But now you have opportunity to really kick butt with some American companies and get a great deal. Like, yeah, High Point's making an AR $500. Ross Martin has their handgun for less than, what is it, 4.99 and under for the various Ross Martins. And that's a quick turnaround. They got comps, they got small guns, they got medium guns, carry guns, type guns. I think it's great. Who else did I interview? Oh, Brownells. Brownells has been making guns and gun parts. I don't know if they make a whole firearm. Yeah, they do. The
Yeah, they make
BRN
a
180.
couple of guns now.
Yeah, BRN 180 they make and all that other stuff. So I think that's great. We need to start supporting them and picking up their stuff. Um, just talking to Pete Brownells was interesting about his company and the direction they want to go, and also asking questions about his time as president of the NRA. Because I figure, hey, I might only get one chance at this, so I'm just going to ask questions I want to know the answer to. And if they never, ever, ever have me on the floor again of the NRA, all right, I got this one off.
What did he say about the being president?
Oh, he didn't even dance around. He gave good answers. That it was just big. It was a lot. It was a lot, and he realized he did not have the time as somebody who runs, a large company himself, to dedicate to trying to turn it around and fight the fight that he would have to fight to make the NRA what he needed to make it. He was like, "There's others that can handle it better than I can, or have the time to do it." And I totally understood where he was coming from. He didn't try to duck, weave, or hide. You know what I mean? He was straightforward enough for me to accept his answer as not someone shining me on.
And he was in, I'm trying to remember, like somewhere around 14, 15, something like that.
A little
Just
later,
was it
yeah,
17?
like two. Yeah, he did 2 years. He said he did
Oh,
2 years.
okay.
Said that. But
But that was
I
that
mean,
was a time when they were getting nothing but shit, and shit was starting to come out, and
uh-huh.
yeah, they definitely needed somebody to whatever, be like an anti-Wayne or whatever, and he didn't. He booked out of there, and then was
Yeah,
it
he was like, yeah, no,
somebody else after him was pretty big?
yeah, it
Was it
was.
what's his face?
Yes,
Iran
it
Contra guy?
was. Yep.
Yeah, was after him. He did the same thing. Oh yeah, I'm gonna change everything. Oh no shit, fuck, come out of here. Like,
Yeah. He was like, no, that was funny when Oliver North, because I
oh
was.
yeah,
Did you go to that NRA? Did you go to that NRA meeting? I was
I've
there.
only been to ones in 9 and 10, so I quit going
Okay,
a long time ago.
bro,
Back when
bro.
his name was Meaninger. Okay, go ahead.
All right, because very few. Thank you for having this show, because this is probably the only one that I do besides my own. Uh, Actually, that would care about this. All right, I was there. I felt the energy on the floor because they thought a change was coming because Wayne needed to go. Right, Wayne.
Was this the year that Matt, or no, does Tim was outside with the t-shirts, not real
Probably.
activist t-shirts,
Yep.
and that because that was when you this would have been 16 or something, or 15, 16. You were already doing your thing. Like YouTube had figured
Yep.
out that they had muscle, like they could do stuff, they could push people around, and I was super psyched because I'm like, okay, we got people that are figuring out that they've got the ability to do shit, and then they focused on the NRA, but they fucking sold out like a bunch of bitches. But go ahead.
Yeah. Uh-huh. So it was like, all right, we're gonna do something. Feel it. You felt it. It was like it's time for Wayne to go. They got other forces aligned. You had now understand who I'm friends with. I'm friends with actual activists and advocates that are there in the rooms with these people, right? So I'm feeling the energy and I'm getting the scoop, and they're like, "Yo, dude, people are really hyped. You had actual NRA members that were going to the meeting. They were hyped. They like, let's go, baby. We're going to get rid of Wayne, and we're going to write the NRA, and we're going to actually start pushing back instead
But
of maintaining the status quo."
I don't want to make it look
Go ahead.
like rose-colored rec glasses looking back in hindsight, because that was
Mm-mm.
just a few people, and the most of it was I don't give a shit, or Wayne couldn't do no wrong. Wayne has got us through all this shit. There
So
was quite a bit of pro Wayne shit back then.
that was the problem, because the people that only show up for the NRA meetings, excuse me, only go to the NRA annual meeting to see new guns, and they don't pay attention. Of course, Wayne's doing a good job. Well, you wouldn't know if Wayne was doing a bad job, because you live in a free state. You don't have these fights, and it just really doesn't affect you. So, yeah, you'll vote for Wayne.
Well,
But
that's when
other
the
people that was,
NRA was paying for that. What the fuck? What did you call it? The one ad company that was
hmm
that was when they were hiring, or they were. Coleon was on the payroll. That girl was on the
hmm
payroll. Two other people, and they were pushing NRA media. So that was like,
yeah,
if you were just not paying attention, you got a lot of pro NRA. Wayne is doing the blah blah blah, because it was the beginning of the. Well, that was not the beginning, but it was like the internet was. Everybody was getting the internet. Like it was, they were really at the top of their uh, game when people were like the whole world was getting online, and they were capitalizing, I guess is the word I was looking for, capitalizing on the idea that everybody was getting online, and nobody had yet figured out that they could look around online. They just were taking what they were fed. So anyway, kind of making a big picture, but there was not a lot of contradictory messaging to Wayne is so good and the NRA is awesome,
Ackerman
except
McQueen,
for,
that was it.
yeah,
Ackerman McQueen was their public relations company, so they were going ahead putting out their propaganda. So people
yeah.
would only see cool NRA stuff, and people behind the scenes were like, they can do so much more, and Wayne is albatross. So there was a feeling there was going to be a change if just enough members stood up. And then they were like, hey, Oliver North is coming in, and he's going to be president of NRA, and he's going to make changes. And then the day before they were to announce, actually the day of, they were announcing, they were like, yeah, Oliver North left. What? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, he was supposed, he left. He left in the middle of the night. He amscrayed. Well,
Because they got in
who's
a big
going to be
fight or
president?
something, right? Like they wanted him to
They
do
got
shit.
into a
It's like,
big fight.
nope.
They got in a big fight. They wanted him to be a puppet. And he was like, you know what? Peace out. Nope, right the hell out of there. NRA is on his own. This is a mess you guys created, and I want no part of it. And I'm like, son of a gun. And then, of course, the people that did show up to the annual meeting got shouted down because and got ignored by Wayne's puppets and sycophants that are now being cleared out. I think 20 of the reformers actually got in and won board seats on the NRA board of directors. That's a significant number of people that just won a 3-year seat.
Well, you're talking about this year. So I was like, wait a minute.
Yep,
I don't think that happened that year. Okay, you're talking about
that
this
didn't
year.
happen that year. So that started the pushback
I
of,
think it
you're
said it
going
was
to complain?
17. Was it 17 or 20 this year?
20, I heard.
20 out of
20 of
45?
them got out.
17 out of 45. I think it was 7. But anyway, yeah, it was a pretty good chunk. It's 45 out of 75, I think is what Jeff was saying.
Or the reformers that got in?
Well, in total now, because it's like a third of them. It's 25 each year, so there's 75
Yeah.
total. So now it brought
hmm
whatever the number was this year. Like you say, I think it was either 20 or 17. Um,
hmm
I got too many numbers in my head right now, so I have no idea. But whatever the number was this year, it brought it up to like 45 out of 75. So it's not like I was saying already. It's inevitable. It's fucking inevitable. Like there's nobody that's
Yep.
still petitioning on like pro wing. And then I watched Richardson John's.
hmm
I don't know. I watched his petition, but it was Professor Yamane's video, who's the only
hmm
one that had video streaming from filming from the meetings. And the meetings
Yeah.
weren't like Wayne is so good. The meetings were we're worried about Giffords or Bloomberg seeing what goes on in our meeting. And
Yeah.
that's like more of a concern with like old people that don't realize that if they want to, they pay $45 and become members and they have access to everything anyway. So that's the concern. So that was more of like a messaging concern between like people that know about how the internet works and people that are scared of the internet being scary. More
Hmm.
than Wayne is so good. So the debate that I saw after watching a few hours of debate from Professor Yamane was
Hmm.
misunderstandings and concern about like uh, the perception of the group by having things public. But basically, it doesn't matter because there was enough people in the room, members, and enough reform people on the board that the board meetings are going to be streamed now, so it's all transparent. So it's inevitable. Like there's nobody petitioning for Wayne anymore. It's just a matter of how fast they're going to get all reform people, and then how well the only issue is how well those reform people are going to all work together. Like, you know what I mean? And I don't like how many different
Yep.
agendas they're bringing to the mix. Because with 75 people, if 70, 60 of them or something are reform people, like I don't know, some of them are going to be law enforcement, some of them are going to be training, some of them are going to be this, that, or the other, right? And how
So
they work or don't work together, I guess, will be the issue.
yeah, and that is going to be an issue. If anybody has ever worked in 2A advocacy, and you get more than one organization in the room, you're going to have issues. Actually, not even the organization, just people with their outlook and the ability to say no and stop process. And that's what's going to happen. But let's get there first.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's,
There's no reason to slow down because of what might happen. Let's rush to get there and find out how everybody gets creative with their solutions. Because I think
yeah,
that's
because I mean, Amanda and Anthony Calandro and all those, I don't know how much Anthony had to do with it. I know Amanda was there and Amanda told, got me invited. She runs the podcast. She knows the power of podcast. Anthony Calandro has Gun for Hire podcast. So he knows the power of it and the ability to reach people from a bunch of different backgrounds. And that took a year. That took a year. NRA was all aboard. I was actually talking to some of them and they were like, this worked out better than we thought. Um, and I think, and this is what I got afterwards, that they didn't know how well it would work. They started out only on 8 podcasts. And Amanda said, I can get 8. And she said, well, maybe we can do 12. And Amanda said, give me a number and I'll fill it. So they invited 25. Everybody didn't make it. Some people said they would and didn't show up. It is what it is. That's life. But
so it's called Media Row this year. Oh, you're
all right,
fading.
this is
Yep, he faded out. There you go. There you
like, so they actually invited me back to Houston already. So I've been invited back to do the podcast next year too.
go. Right. I'm trying to find a list of the people on Media Row or whatever. They call it Media Row or what?
Hmm. They call it Voices of the Second Amendment.
Voices.
Yeah, Voices of the Second Amendment. So I haven't really slowed down since I've gotten back. Um, I immediately went to work, and I have an event coming up on the 15th. So that's my next one, and I just came back from not Aberdeen, um, Middletown, Middletown Arms Company, which is a brand new gun store in New Jersey, who supported me and gave me 9 mil ammo to use at diversity shoots.
When you go into train and learn? You got a couple weeks? I don't know if he's hearing me. No, see, his internet signal has been going bad. Now you're back. Are you
Oh,
back?
I dropped off.
Yeah. Sorry, your internet signal was looking bad. Now they couldn't tell if you just paused or if you, because it wasn't like static or anything. But anyway, I think you're back.
Oh, okay. So if it,
Yeah, got a little red signal on him again. What's up with that? Is it my computer? Do y'all hear me? What's happening? What do you hear?
and I want feedback from you guys, whether you like it or not.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to them. Sounds like you got a bunch of them. I've been watching Alex Uli did 3 episodes. So he did longer episodes. He did like, dang, he dropped out again. He did, Alex Uli is a lawyer from Indiana who does the Forge of Freedom podcast. And often it's just like him talking about legal issues or, Second Amendment stuff that happened. What the heck? Keep jumping in and out. I don't know if you're
Hold
noticing.
on. Let me. Yeah, I just saw it.
But anyway, so I've been watching his interviews, and his was like, I don't know, like,
And I didn't know everyone. I didn't know everyone.
was, well, I'm trying to
That's
find a list of them to see who all, but it sounds like everybody did different things too. Like some people were live and like you recorded, and other people were doing video and like that kind of thing.
Yeah, it was Amanda with her eye on the target. She did some video. She did some recording. She did some live, some, whatever. There was Charlie Cook, Ride Shotgun with Charlie, Gun Talk Media. Michael Bain was there doing his show. What
Armed
was
Atlas,
Frank's show's name? At the Range? Hmm?
Armed Atlas or Gun Club Radio.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Armed Atlas was there.
Arms Room
Armed
Radio,
Atlas.
the guy from Florida, Mike.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm. Yeah, Mike was there. Craig DeLuz was there
Oh yeah, I seen Craig
from.
in back of somebody.
So Craig interviewed me. Yeah, in the back of me, he was beside me.
Oh,
And
okay.
there was also Gun Stuff TV. So I think that's most of them. Uh, so Craig interviewed me. I interviewed Craig. The guys at Gun Stuff TV interviewed me. I interviewed Ursula. Ursula sat in on the interview with me. Uh, so that was kind of a cool, like, hey, let's get these people out there. Like, people don't know Craig DeLuz from Breakfast with Craig is one. Coffee with Craig was one of them. Oh, the
Right.
Takedown. Yeah, he does the Takedown also. So he's running for Congress, and he wants to get word out. So if you actually want to support a conservative Second Amendment, activist,
In
there's
California.
one in California. But the cool thing is you can donate from anywhere to help his campaign, because he was like, that was the problem. It's coming out early enough and getting donations. You can get donations from around the country for a freaking seat. And there's no reason, if you really want to make a difference, find pro 2A people who are running in other states. That's what Bloomberg does with the anti side. They support anti gun activists. Why can't we support pro gun activists? Look for them and support the work they do. Oh, I also friggin' speaking of pro gun Second Amendment, I also interviewed Mark Robinson, Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, first Black Lieutenant Governor of North Carolina, but also the dude that stood up and made that speech. What was it, Greensboro?
That was a
There
while
was a big
ago.
difference. I am the silent majority.
Yep,
Hmm.
that was a big one. That
He
was a
parlayed that
significant
into an
one at the
actual
time.
political career.
That's one that's tough to. What's the word like? Because when you hear about it now, you're like, oh, okay. But at the time, he was like the first one to do that, or at a time when it was, he was a singular voice doing it, and it was significant. It was like a loud voice. That's a good one.
Yeah, it was a loud voice calling in, and it happened like a week after I did my first speech that went viral for me. Was viral, and then his just came along like a tidal wave. It's like mine made a ripple. Mine made a ripple in the community. I still remember I had like 15,000 views on Facebook alone. Like
Well,
that
he
was a
did
big
his on
deal, right?
CNN or whatever. He said his stuff on CNN, right? That's the
Mm-mm.
difference.
He just said his in a town meeting,
Well, okay,
but it got out
broadcast, yeah,
because it
he
was
got
prolific. I
broadcast.
mean, the way he did. Yeah, yeah. His got broadcast. Mine's people in cell phones that put it on social media. His was actually, television cameras and stuff.
Yeah,
But
but then
whatever. I mean, he made an impact.
swap
Hmm?
that, and you get, because it was like you say, similar time. So if you swap that around, I wonder what would happen if you'd be running for Congress right now.
Yeah, it's really funny because he's going to run for governor of North Carolina, and he just wanted to get his voice out there and let people know. So he announced that on the show. It's hilarious because we look enough alike that if one of us committed a crime, both of us get in question. Because he was walking by and he was looking at my picture, and I was like, "Hey, that's my picture, not yours." And he stopped and it was like, "Oh, you doing podcasts?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm doing podcasts." I just somebody just stepped out. Then I got someone coming at one. He was like, "You got an opening at two?" I was like, "No, I'll come back." So that's what happened.
That's cool.
So next year I'm going to limit the amount of
Well,
time
he's running
if
for
they give
office.
me a
He
booth
needs
the
attention.
entire day. Hmm. And it ends up, I don't agree with everything he says, and I kept having to reel him back to the Second Amendment because I don't need you going off about everything else. We're talking about the Second Amendment. We're talking about the Second Amendment.
Well, that's good though, honestly, because
I,
especially with the politician who is probably, if they're
mhm.
not used to getting reined in, then that's good for him. But if it's something where he can understand the, what do you call it, like the subtleness there to say like, hey, focus in on what we're trying to do here. If he's smart and if he can like figure that out, then that's cool, because we need more politicians
Hmm.
that understand that the second is singular and that it doesn't have to kind of be attached to whatever, because they often associate the second with whatever the hell there's going on in their head, right? Or whatever uh,
Yep.
whatever their adversaries are pushing on them, and that's not a,
Hmm.
like, just because some anti thinks that guns and violence, for example, are together. You know what I mean? Like, we
Hmm.
don't need no politician talking that way. So, and the thing is, they're not going to get that from most interviews. Are going to be yes, 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 thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. They're not going to be
Hmm.
in the least bit constructive like that.
I have zero intent of being the next Joe Rogan. Okay. So I'm not going to suckle up to you. I'm doing what we've done. We've done pretty good, even though I'm not consistent with it. This one pushing me to be more consistent. But even with the way we were putting it out in 2023, 2020, 2022, 2023, I was in the top 0.5% of educational podcasts on Spotify. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I'm good with maintaining that. I don't need to suckle up to anybody and let them, you know what I mean, take us in a different direction, because it is, I need Republicans that are pro 2A. But all we're going to do is talk about that. We're not launching any other thing that's not adjacent to this in some way, and we can tie it in conversation. Um, just not happen because it turns off way too many people. Let's just go ahead and stick with this. And that was a little bit of that. I can't wait to hear people's feedback on it. Um, who else? Oh, I actually got to speak to uh, Kayla, who is now running Tactical Response.
Oh,
Kayla
really?
is James
Cool.
Jacobs' daughter. Yeah, so we did some time, and actually, she wants to work with 2A4E diversity shoots and come and participate.
Right on.
So I think that's very important to get the firearms instructors, especially one on the level of tactical response, to actually talk about 2A advocacy too. And we have a lot in common. It was really great talking to her. As someone that knew her dad, but sees her as an individual. This is not, yes, this is James Yeager's daughter, but she has her own thoughts about politics and she's a dogmatic Second Amendment supporter. And we actually hung out with her and Sarah Riddle, Sarah, from Arizona, Second Amendment stuff, lawyers on retainer.
Oh, okay.
You've met her. Yeah, lawyers on retainer from Arizona. She was one of the ones that helped facilitate the event that I was at when I was out in Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so she was there, and actually we hung out, and it was really great. She's a funny, nice lady. I just feel blessed to be in this company of people that also believe in the Second Amendment and are willing to make things happen and work with each other. We don't have to be in lockstep. We just have to be facing the same direction
We're better
and
off not
willing to go
being in
there.
lockstep, but being able to interface, right, and not be in lockstep is stronger than being in lockstep and being vulnerable to, being tripped up.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, the anti-gunners, the people that are anti-gun and trying to shut down the second, are coming at us from multiple directions. We have to be the exact same way. We have to be working from different directions. We got to be working with Devin over it from, what is it?
Kids to kings.
Kids the Kings. We have to have Michael Sedini and Jake over at Walk the Talk
Walk the
America
talk.
heading in that direction. Yeah, we have to have Diana Mueller and Women for Gun Rights. We have to have a girl in the gun. We need all of those people coming from different directions, pushing the Second Amendment, individual right to stay armed, how to actually save lives through intervention, talking about mental health. We need all of that. We need women to feel comfortable picking up firearms. Uh, we need people like Ursula Williams there, is a black lady who is a Second Amendment advocate, but also an active and world ranked shooter. Like, yes, you can do this. Whoever you are, whatever your background, here's this lady, and she's punching all kinds of boxes, which people try to be, oh, those people don't do that. You mean black women? And there's one right there. She's doing it. Not only is she doing it, she's going around the world and doing it, representing America in other countries. She's doing it. And then to competitive shooters that won't open their mouth for anything, and you never see them at Second Amendment rallies or even pushing anything because they don't want to lose people on their channel. Ursula does, and she has her social media. Gabby Franco does, and she's an Olympic level shooter and competes, and she's 10 toes down a Second Amendment advocate. So
I'm
it's like,
trying
yeah,
to.
we need all kinds of people from all directions.
Scrolling through my Instagram here because Girl in a Gun is happening right now, and I
Yep.
had a bunch of different pictures earlier today. They're probably doing stuff and not posting, but I
Hmm.
just scrolled through everything earlier. But anyway, they did some kind of seminar, and there was 400 ladies at it, and I don't know what the total is. Is
Hmm.
it at 1,000 ladies now, or is it at 700? But attendees. But anyway, there's a giant
Hold on.
facility in Colorado. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll think of it maybe when I'm not thinking of it. But anyway, there's a giant facility in Colorado, and I forget how many years. Is it 8 years now or something that this is been happening, and the Girl in a Gun is a large national organization, and they bring together many, many hundreds of ladies to do training on everything from tactical to competition to activism to safety to more. Is this it? No, this is something that's happening in Utah. But a massive event. And I guess when you were saying, I think I know we're beyond needing to have ladies be comfortable with guns. That's a thing. Now,
Mm.
we just have to get each other to realize that that's been accomplished. And there's always going to be some lady who doesn't realize it, but there's probably somebody that doesn't realize you can dress up like cowboys and shoot every weekend. Also, like there's people are always discovering shit, but there's massive, massive infrastructure for ladies in the United States, for ladies firearms and all different kinds. And that's not even focused. That's just mostly focused on training and encouragement and exploration of firearms, as far as I understand from Girl in a Gun. It's not competition and it's not hunting. That would be more of a girl. I forget what the other one's called. A woman, a fire. I forget what the one is. The one that has the truck at range day.
Oh, hold on. Hold
The
on. Okay, let me see if I can shoot like a girl.
Shoot like a girl. Thanks. They
Shoot
do
like a
more
girl. Yep.
hunting and that kind of thing. So there's like massive infrastructure for ladies in the community already.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say there's not plenty of room to grow still. I'm just saying like we're beyond like we just need to get more of the word out there. But
Mm-hmm.
we're not going in order with the questions over here. But thanks everybody for asking questions. We
Oh,
actually have a ton of people out there today watching
yeah.
on pretty much all the different
You
platforms.
want to hit the
I want
you
to
want
hit
to hit
this
the Glock
one.
question up?
No, because you already hit this one kind of a minute, like you kind of came right next to this one. But earlier when we were
Mm.
talking about something, probably about Media Row, I think. Um,
Mm-hmm.
no, we were talking about the meeting and the reformers being elected to the board. I think it was back then. Mike
Mm-hmm.
White said the reformers I know are really hard on 2A activists. I hope that they will not get burned out, as I've seen some really good hard activists get burned out and stop. That's an interesting position because
Mm.
I mean I've been
Mm.
around for a while and it's frustrating as hell. The first couple of times I saw waves of activists leave, I had to stop for a minute and go, "What the hell?" Because it was difficult. Like shit, like that's a lot of people you have a lot of time on the clock with, and they're just fucking gone. And it's like shit. Like why did I put all this time into it? Should I ever put time into it again? Second time you do it, you're like, damn it! Like when I didn't learn my lesson, like what the fuck happened? And then third time, it's like shit, and you're either out at that point. Like I don't know how many waves of this you go through. I can't. I don't even want to think about how many waves of it I've experienced. And being in the game and like having money involved and shit, like that's a whole nother level. So that's an
Mm-hmm.
issue. And I don't know. I think that's something that, again, I'm frustrated that the national level organizations can't at least address this, if not facilitate something, because we're fucking talking about tens of millions of dollars. We have at least one organization out there that won't shut the fuck up about how the NRA can't deal with training, and they make $24 million a
Mm-hmm.
month. And then we have an organization in
Mm-hmm.
Colorado that makes more money than Second Amendment Foundation and the Gun Owners of America put together. They don't do shit. And then we
Mm-hmm.
have Gun Owners of America making as much money as Second Amendment Foundation. They've never done anything like they'll try to compete with the NRA on the get together. Like, hey, let's all talk shit and
Mm-hmm.
look at grip angles and shit. But they don't try to make a gun rights policy conference, right? Because that's boring as shit. Nobody wants to do that. But is a gun rights policy conference perfect? Fuck no. So we've got a lot of money being spent on shit, and it's frustrating to me that we've got actual activists coming and going. Now, some of them fucking good riddance, because some of them are here to exploit us and to fucking make money and just to echo chamber shit.
Mm-hmm.
But some of them, it's been frustrating as shit.
Mm-hmm.
Frustrating as shit. And then, well, I don't want to get into personal private shit, but the stress that it puts on people and the lack of success. I mean, what is that? What's the results of that? And and then who wins? Like, what the fuck do you have to be successful now in 2025? You got to be lucky or
And
a son
what?
of a bitch. I'm just saying, like, to be successful in anything, you got to be lucky or a son of a bitch, kind of. So You know what I mean? Like, there's not too many like Mother Teresa's. I mean, people talk shit about Mother Teresa probably. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's just
Yep.
there's not that many people that have like just a shit ton of money that they can just go around being happy to everyone all the time. You're always going to do something that pisses somebody off just by doing stuff. And there's people that get offended. You don't even fucking know they're offended. So, and then you got to be pretty hard to be able to still stick with it through all that, because you can be doing.
Hmm.
I mean, back in some of you used to say like you could stand on the streets handing out $20 bills and somebody will come up and complain about it, right? So people can put a lot of
Yep.
effort into trying to do good, and somebody will come along and shit on it. And I mean, if they're not doing it for the money or for the fame, and they just get shit on for what they thought was doing good, they might never try it again. And I don't know. There was one guy in 20, it had to be 18 because it was before the big rally in DC. So it had to be in 18. And he kind of came on the scene. And I don't like people that come on the scene, especially back then, because it was too much money in a game back then. Anybody came to the scene, I was
Hmm.
skeptical of. This guy claimed to be rich, and he came to the scene without wanting any money, but he certainly wanted to be fucking famous. He was on everybody's chats. But his thing was, I'm all rich and I don't need money, so I'm going to bring to the game, like, I'm going to facilitate activism. I'm going to teach activists how to be activists. Not so much what Train and Learn was
Hmm.
trying to do, but sort of kind of like a Train and Learn toolkit for just activism, not for the industry and not
Hmm.
for content creation, just for activism. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm definitely in with that. Like, and I kind of watched, and that never went anywhere except for a couple of suggestions that he was going to do it on chats, but he never actually did anything about it. And I'm like, fuck, I wish somebody would take that up. And if we had, I'm trying to think, like, if you think of art, there's probably somebody out there, like an endowment. Is that the right word? Like somebody says, I think
Yeah.
there should be more sculpture. So if you sculpt, I'll help you buy clay or something, or I'll help you, I'll put a show together. So if you get some art together, then I'll help you find buyers or something, like help facilitate sculpting, because I think sculpting is important. Why can't we have that with activism? you know, we think, and it used to frustrate the shit on me with the campus carry. I know I'm going in multiple directions here, but that's one of those things. Campus carry is so difficult
Hmm.
unless an organization like NRA or GOA actually petitions on it, and like actually takes it on and can live over the
Hmm.
4 year duration of most students, lifespan of a school. It just comes and goes. Those things come and go. And if there was some kind of help for encouragement, at least, or if not support for activism, maybe some of those kind of organizations would have took place in the 90s when they started. I think 94 was the first one. And how different would the world have been if everyone started concealed carrying when Glocks were first being introduced instead of like 2 decades later?
Yep. Yeah, I have no idea who. I You could probably say it now. Remember, who was there and came through with the dough and wanted to do this whole thing.
I
That's
don't think I
great.
remember his name. I just remember
Uh,
he kind of came on the scene, and I was like say, I just remember being skeptical, and then he had this one good idea. Because otherwise, he just talked a lot of shit, like, oh, blah blah blah, everybody should do this or do that. I don't know if you remember back in those days, it was cool to be an activist, so a lot of people wanted to join the chats and be activists.
yeah,
Day.
yeah, they wanted to be heard and seen, and then they disappeared, and it's fine. I was told that was going to happen to people. I was told that keep myself in check, make sure you don't go destitute and break your family, because that was a real thing.
I can imagine
Uh,
the stress and the strain there.
oh, bro, the stress. Uh, Never wanted to quit. Let's just go ahead and put it there. I never wanted to quit, mainly because of my motivation to do it. And I'm seeing what they're trying to do. Never wanted to quit, but did definitely got frustrated multiple times, especially when the Supreme Court turned down 10 gun cases in 1 year. They just refused to take 10 of them. And it was like, dude, when are we going to get this stuff heard? But they had New York Rifle Pistol. Uh, they had New York Rifle and Pistol Club in the wings coming. So they accepted that, and that changed things nationwide. But what they did turn down was magazine limitations and permits. Like that stuff needs to go too.
So bad. It's one of those things where I think that's another thing that now that I've thought about it more and more, I think Toby first mentioned it, or you mentioned it, and then Toby mentioned it's kind of both of you kind of brought it to my attention that the 9 states that have the worst infringements are fucking like 48% of the country, like 48% of the population of the country. So when we think of like,
Yeah,
oh, there's only like 3 states with gun permits or whatever, yeah, that's like probably a third of the population or some shit.
yeah. You have
Ask
a
permission.
crap load of them here clustered together on the East Coast, and then you got California, Washington, that whole side over there. And it's like, yo, bro, this is a significant number of people that are affected by this. And again, when you're talking about saving money up to buy your first gun or a firearm, sometimes you spend hundreds of dollars to get to the point to get to the gun store with the cash in your hand.
Dude, and then who wants to be on the stupid NFA roster? Like, so there's just people that don't feel like having to go ask and be on some damn list because you asked.
Hmm. Now,
And
again, we can talk about that. You built a high point, right? You can get every piece of that high point AR except the lower. Like you can buy all these pieces and have it shipped to your house except that lower. And it's like now you're on the list. If you want to stay under the list, if you want to stay under the radar. Then you got places like Jersey that you're going on that list no matter what. The minute you buy ammo in this state, you're going on that list. The minute you get a firearms ID card, you're on that list. Whether you buy a gun or not. If you buy pistol ammo, they write it down when you go to the gun store. What caliber you bought, how many rounds you bought. All of that ridiculousness is the government watching you and not helping you. Not one drive-by was prevented because you had 40 Smith and Wesson written with my name beside it at the gun store somewhere.
no, but if
That
we
didn't help.
definitely more and more pushes to make it inconvenient, expensive, or onerous, I guess the better word,
Hmm.
to make people want to even participate. Once you remove it from, you know, the commonality or whatever, then fewer and fewer people give a shit when you strip it.
And now one of the most disgusting things they're trying to do is include, if you get red flag, not only do they take your firearms, they take your gun safe, they take your
What?
every firearms accessory. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do now. So they want your
So
optics,
taking
they
your
want your scope.
dumbass safe, which is probably bolted down if you're thinking about it, like hopefully you have it bolted down.
Hmm.
I can't imagine what they would do if it's bolted down. But to take that and not take your knives, your poisons,
Yeah,
your
yeah.
upstairs if you have one, your pool if you got it, like filling your pool with sand.
So think about this because a lot of people carry that listen to this show. You got your little freaking bin, right? You got your bin of holsters that you had to go through till you find the one or two that you wear. Yeah, they're taking the bin of holsters too. They're taking the bin of holsters. They're taking your mags. They're taking mags for guns you no longer have. They take that extra red dot. Yeah, they're taking that too. And good luck getting all that shit back.
Well, let's go back to because that's preposterous. That's in New Jersey.
Yep.
So I mean, I don't want to gloss over it, but I don't like thinking about it, and it sucks that you
Yeah,
all
yeah. No
deal
problem.
with that kind of shit. But nothing we can do about it, I guess, is the other side of it. At least at the moment, other than again give people encouragement and support for doing things about it in all around the country, really. But anyway, we had a question come in. It says an hour ago from Saint
Okay.
saying, "Any thoughts on Glock eliminating so many models?" I got some thoughts on it. What about you?
Don't sh- Oh, I thought you were going to share them.
Well, I
Um,
didn't. I don't know. I can go, but I don't. If you want to go, go ahead.
yeah, Glock eliminated models that people aren't buying. Uh, they eliminated the 45 gaps. They eliminated the 357 SIGs. People ain't picking them up. I think they even got rid of. Did they get rid of the 30? They get rid of the Glock 30. So
I mean,
they
they
know
got
what
rid
they're
of
doing when it
models,
comes
they got rid of calibers, but they also got rid of like weird options like with these kind of sites or with those kind of sites.
Hmm.
And yeah,
Yeah.
so, I think we're both on the same wavelength. Like, what's the point of making a zillion flavors when sort of the deal with Glock is it's a Glock, so you can get the little one, the medium one, or the big one, and a couple of different calibers. But most people are immediately taking that thing and messing with it anyway. So I can see why they would say, what's the point of having in our inventories these sites or those sites? Or, I mean, the calibers, I don't know so much of that, doesn't make so much sense. But like you're saying, I guess it's sales maybe. But I can see slimming down a lot of item numbers to have fewer. Just makes good business sense. Oh shit, Tony's upset. He left. Maybe he was saying stuff the whole time I was talking. But I didn't really look at the whole list. I just heard people talking about it, and it sounds like it was a pretty good mowing of the lawn. There you are. Yep.
All right.
It didn't
Did
even
I
do
drift
like
off?
that. No, yeah, it didn't drift off. I didn't think you drifted off. It just immediately cut you. So I didn't know if you got disconnected or what. But anyway,
Yeah, I'm like, yeah,
I
go
think
ahead.
we're both on the same wavelength on that one, though, it sounds like.
Yeah. I find nothing wrong with what they did. And if you wanted some of these things, you better buy it. If you want a 45, a Glock, what is it? A 45 gap, pick one up. I mean, they're going to disappear from the stores. Pick up a few boxes of ammo so you have this pretty much what's going to be a forgotten weapon on, it's just going to be one of those things. It's going to join 357 SIG, which is only used by a few people. Uh, Life goes on, man. I mean, the gun company's still there.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's not going to hurt Glock at all. If anything, it'll make it easier for them to make money because they'll be able to
Mhm.
concentrate on what works. All right, so I think the next one, yeah, check that one. The next one is New York Outcast is saying from New York, good afternoon. I'm still in the market for a movie gun, something compact, never runs out of ammo. So that would be a good bracket, I think. Like, of all the movie guns out there, this is kind of on the spot, but of the movie guns that come to mind, maybe, which one do you think of as like the best? Never has to reload, just works all the time.
Well, again, we're talking movie guns that are small and compact, right?
Well, I guess the small and
That never
compact.
run out of.
That's true. Yeah.
All right, because yeah, that's the one that trips you up because it's almost every one of them. Small and compact movie gun never run out of bullets. Glock 26. Glock 26 is used by Black Widow in the Avenger movies and never runs out of bullets. And somehow, Charlize Theron's running around with double Glock 26s. Why, she would be the most ludicrous person with no superpowers whatsoever running around with a Glock 26 with dudes that can fly.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
wait a minute,
Like I got laser eyes
what?
or some shit, or like I have scales that make me like diamonds, but I got guns. Okay.
I got two Glock 26s that never run out of rounds. And she would be the most ridiculous one if it wasn't for Hawkeye running around with a bow and arrow. And I love that they team those two idiots up. Yeah, the two that have to walk, yeah, keep them together.
They got the most in common. Yeah, they got to drive everywhere.
Yeah, they're on the plane.
So I'm gonna go
they're
with.
checking in.
I'm
They're
gonna say
checking in
something.
TSA.
I'm gonna say something like Revolver from back in the. I don't necessarily say black and white days, but like in the '70s, we're growing up. A lot of the Rockford Files, those kind of things. Bad guys are just bang, 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 bang with their
Hmm.
5-shot J frames. Because of the compact. I was going to say Judge Dredd until you brought up the compact part because I thought Judge Dredd was a pretty cool movie gun. And it doesn't necessarily, I mean, it's kind of doesn't run out. Oh, the other one is a good movie gun that doesn't run out is Starship Troopers. They technically do reload once in a while, but their magazines are supposed to be like hundreds of rounds. But I think they're
Yeah, yeah,
supposed to
yeah,
be
yeah.
like
They
little
don't know.
5.7 little dense packs of maybe projectiles that like energy pushes, so they don't need the whole cartridge like we do. Like it's sort of like putting in a pack of BBs into a gun. Like if you're just pushing the BBs out with air, then a magazine's
Hmm.
dense. I think that's how Starship
Yeah,
Troopers is supposed to be, but I've never heard an explanation. I just kind of what I made up in my head. And I've
yeah,
seen reading the comics and shit, Judge Dredd guns are pretty neat, and they're again just they have a lot of ammo in them because it's comic books or whatever. But anyway, but you had a good one.
yeah. I
That's
think this guy.
actually a much more recent and much more better example. Plus, it's like you say, kind of absurd example compared to the old things I'm thinking of.
Yeah, who she's hanging out with and what her powers are, and it's like, really?
Are you gonna
Okay.
watch the Thunderbirds or whatever it is, the new one?
No, I haven't even bothered watching the trailers for him that I'm seeing all over the place. Um,
I watched it. It was
because
all right. Matt liked the show.
yeah,
Famo, he really liked it. He says it's one of the best movies. I liked it. It was okay, but it's the sister of Black Widow, and it's just exactly what you're talking about. It's like a bunch of their superheroes, I guess. They're going against super bad guys and stuff, but they're basically shooting
hmm.
guns. They're just a lot of people shooting guns at each other, real fast.
So
Jumping around.
my issue with Marvel movies are they suck. I mean, I had to adjust my expectations because think about it. We go far back enough that we saw the initial Blade, and Blade was so successful that all of a sudden it made owning Marvel worth something. Because it was just a nothing thing that was pretty much dying on the vine over at what Disney or whoever ran it. Anyway, my thing is I expected more of the Marvel movies when Avengers came out and when Thor came out, and I'm just like, ew. And then I got a little hype again for it with Black Panther, and I turned that off in the North Korean scene. Like that's how far I made it into the movie Black Panther, when somehow everybody was able to chase people through the streets of North Korea, which we know it's dark at night because they have no nightlife. And somehow these black people were able to blend in North Korea.
I
I'm
didn't
like, I've been to Japan,
I don't
trust me.
remember.
The one thing I didn't do was blend. Yeah, the one thing I didn't do in Japan was blend in. So you're telling me the prince of a nation and his bodyguards, bald-headed black women, so much suspension of disbelief, and it got corny to me, and I bailed. So yeah, I just haven't been back. Guardians of the Galaxy, I tried with that. I can't. I think I lasted through that. It sucks because I
Um,
want to love them, but there's a whole lot of misses.
yeah, I'm with you. I like them about 7 to 8 usually. Like I'm not. I like science fiction more, and they're okay. They're
Hmm.
made well. Like it's interesting to watch them most of the time, but they're a little easier to watch than some of the Transformers movies and stuff that get too difficult to pay
Oh yeah,
attention to CGI and shit.
yeah,
But they're right on the brink of just
yeah. I
having way
haven't
too
watched
much
those.
CGI.
Yeah,
Well, since we're talking
like I'd
movies,
rather
much in a big
go
hurry.
ahead.
I was just watching Mission Impossible movies are all on uh, Amazon right now, so that made me go over and
Hmm.
look at what order to watch them in because some of them are easy because they're 1, 2, and 3 or whatever. But then they start just naming them, and I'm like, what order do you watch these in? So
Hmm.
they've made. They cost them $1 billion to make the movies so far. How much do you think those movies have made? This is all of them. Like I don't know how many there
Ooh.
are, 7 or 8,
Oh,
but
so it costs $1 billion to make them,
not
and
each
they
one,
keep
but all
making them.
together.
So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I got that.
Well, they haven't lost any
Um,
money. They certainly haven't lost any money.
yeah, they definitely didn't lose any money, but I'm thinking of how much uh, 7 or 8 of them average out to cost. You know what I mean? Because $1 billion is 1,000 million. So you spread that between 7 movies. So
Exactly.
we break it down to, uh,
A little less than
let's
100 million
say
each. Then.
150 million each. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like 125 million each. And for them to call it success, they'd have to at least double the money. I'm thinking $2.5 billion they made.
Yeah, $4 billion. So they've made a cool $3 billion on those
Damn.
movies. That profit is $3 billion. So I'm like, well, now I'm watching these
Yeah.
movies again because holy shit! And Tom Cruise owns it all. Like he made the first one, and he owns a chunk of every single one of them. And so I can't even imagine how much money that guy's got. Well, he has his own jet plane, right? Well, not just a jet, but like a jet liner, like a passenger plane, right? Like he has a shit ton of money. Or is
Yeah.
that John Travolta? I forget.
Good for him.
But anyway,
John
uh,
Travolta, I know, has one, but yeah.
um, but anyhow, so I've been watching those, and what was I getting at? That those things are similar to whatever we were just talking about.
So I like the Reacher,
Oh,
uh,
yeah,
Jack
Reacher.
Reacher series.
Wait, are you
So
talking
I've
about
only
the
seen
movie series with him, or are you talking about the TV series on Amazon
the yeah, the one on Amazon.
with the big dude?
Jack, yeah, with the big guy that actually makes sense having that role and being intimidating and having people shy away from him because he's just a monster.
I think
I'm
Foss
like,
is the
yeah,
one who
Tom.
would say that if you read the books, that's what he's supposed to be, a big dude, and Tom
Yeah,
Cruise
he's
is
supposed to be
not
a
the
big
right
dude
dude for him. Yeah,
at all. And it's like, bro, that is not an intimidating guy. I enjoy the movies, even though they're a little silly, and I can watch them on the plane when I'm flying somewhere. That's the cool part. I've watched those, but for the most part, I don't. I don't watch a lot of them. What I'm trying to get is like, oh, speaking of movie guns and cool movie guns, a couple of them. I was actually talking to HK because I want to get a USP and 45, like the collateral gun, because that's what Tom Cruise had in the movie Collateral. He had a USP 45.
oh yeah,
Also, I mean, when it comes to when, all right, this is what I talked to him about. I was like, look, HK makes great movie guns. I don't want to be bothered with a MP5 because I live in Jersey, so I can't have it in any cool iteration. You know what I mean?
yeah.
To put asses in seats. So that's out. The 416, asking them for a $3,500 rifle probably ain't gonna happen. But I was like, you have the John Wick gun, so the HK P30. That's the gun that can probably get booties in seats because people want to shoot the John Wick pistol. Uh, Even though it kind of contradicts what I just said, the Mark 23, the big ass Navy SEAL gun, the gun from Metal Gear Solid. If I get that in because it's Jersey legal, that might put butts in seats because it's Navy SEAL gun and people would love to shoot it. So I was talking to them about that. They seem game. Let's go ahead and get my 501c3 going. And I know people are tired of hearing it, but when the NRA asked me to be on the floor to help spread the word about the NRA and do my podcast, that was the final. Hey, dude, you can't get more confirmation than both GOA and NRA wanted you to be a part of their events. You know what I mean? It's like Arizona had you, they actually flew you out to speak at an event. You are a Second Amendment advocate that I guess the industry sees worth in supporting what you do, and they want to hear from you at their events. Poop or get off the pot, bro. Don't tell me I dropped off again.
No, I'm over here just having a
Okay,
blast.
cool. Oh, okay. Yeah, so that was my whole thing. That was the positivity that I needed. I talked to them. I talked to Ernest Langdon because he's working with these companies also, and he was like, "Dude, you get it? I'll help you." Everybody tells me that, so that's going to be my next big expenditure that I'm going to reach out and ask for donations for, so we can actually get that going. And the cool thing is, if you donate, when you donate to me, because it's going to take probably months for all the paperwork to go through. But the first thing that goes through is I think I get my federal and state number back. You know what I mean? The number that you write in for a charity. And that way you can write it off on your taxes. Up to a year after you donate, you can write it off with that charity number. So I'm going to be reaching out to people and asking, for donations so we can go ahead and get this started. It's probably going to cost near $2,000 to get all the paperwork done to become a charitable organization.
Yeah, it sounds worth it though.
Oh, yeah, it's 100% worth it because I spend about that much just going down to Atlanta. And that's not buying food, really. I think I purchased food like 4 times during the entire trip because I was able to either, part of having the room was the free breakfast, or I went out to dinner with friends of mine, like ate at their house. Like I try to save money where I can, but in a place like Atlanta, parking costs money.
All
That
right.
was
So
$60 a day.
I look at it too as, I guess, alternatively, as if there was 12 activists and it cost them all $2,000 to be there. It's $24,000. Somebody paid that
Hmm.
much for shipping. You know what I mean? Like that's just nothing compared to what the costs are in, funding going back and forth at the NRA show or at name any of the shows. That's nothing. I mean, really. But we got a bunch of comments. I've been kind of scrolling through them here, and I started a bunch of them. Earlier, New York said, "I'm not a fan of the misuse of money or the step in and offering deals. Not cool." I think that was when we were talking about NRA before. And
Hmm.
again, I don't know where that's going to even be a thing anymore. I mean, I'm sure there'll probably be whatever the word is, like people that handle things poorly, in positions of authority at the NRA, but it's not going to be a
Hmm.
systematic thing anymore. It's not going to be a tolerated systematic. Is that the right word? Systemic abuse. It's not going to be.
Yeah, systemic abuse of our money. Yeah, no.
Yeah. So it's just going to be more of like when it's found, it'll be taken care of, and it'll be I suspect it'll be a much more transparent situation going forward. I think because they have to, and because everyone expects it, and it won't be tolerated. Nobody is petitioning for it to not be. Oh, I shouldn't say that. The people, there's very few people. I guess we did see. I shouldn't say that. We did see people petition for the non-transparency stuff, but again, their concern wasn't like because we want to keep money. I mean, I guess they wouldn't say that, but their concern was that the antis would see what the NRA is doing. But Hemi said, "I finally got my hands." This is an actual gun question. Finally got my hands on a Cheetah 80X yesterday. First one I've seen in the
Mm-hmm.
wild. Couldn't say no at $600. So I'm guessing that's a
Okay.
Beretta.
Yep, Beretta 80X. They came out with the 80s again. They re-released them, and it's funny because it was right on time because other companies released theirs too. Taurus just released their copy of the Beretta 80X, and Gerson last year released their copy of the Beretta 80X. So there are people that want they want almost full size 380s, and this is something I've been asking for years. For people with bad recoil mitigation or a flinch response, um, and they want to get their whole hand on this gun. So people like my mom who don't shoot guns a lot, it gives them the ability to shoot a gun and not pay for it with bad recoil mitigation. And also, it's a good round. I mean, it's a decent round. 380s enough. Nobody's sticking around, going, did that penetrate to the FBI standard between 12 and 18 inches? No, you hit them with a 380, they're going to leave because most, what you call it, stops with a firearm or psychological stops anyway. I got hit, I'm out. Not how did this round affect me?
So it's basically like a little
Frick,
tiny 92. Looks like to me.
it's not a tiny 92. I mean, it's enough to get your whole hand on it.
Oh, okay, so in other words, it's not like a mini. It's just scaled down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
The only real one I can see with a hand is this one, and there's no
Something
way
that's
to know how big this
looks
guy's
like it.
hand is or whatever. Oh, I got to get rid of this off the screen. But you can't really tell
Yeah.
from this one how big that guy's hand is.
I mean, with a very little bit of a magazine extensor, my whole hand fits on one. Like with just the toe of the magazine extension, that doesn't stick out a lot. My whole hand could fit on one. The new Smith and Wesson Bodyguard 2.0 is another one that is almost like magic because the way it has the undercut under the trigger, it's a fraction of an inch shorter than the pistol grip on a Glock 19. Like it's the Glock 19 comes to the bottom, like the last one third of my finger hangs off the bottom of a Glock 19, and with the Smith and Wesson Bodyguard 2.0, half the width of my pinky finger hangs off the bottom of it.
Well, I
It's
want to
insane.
say congrats to Hemi for getting a 380. Decent caliber.
Yes, sir.
It's a caliber that's been around for a while. It'll be here forever. Then we
Yep.
got Mike White saying in California right now, there's a bill going through the legislature trying to eliminate all Glocks and other striker fired pistols. So
Because they can take a switch.
because they can smack on them, you mean?
They can take the Glock switch,
Oh, the
which
switch.
is illegal.
I got what you're saying.
Yeah. Which is illegal. So it's like you're banning a gun because they can take an illegal part.
I don't
It's
know if
already
all
illegal.
strikers can all strikers. I mean, I know one of the reasons I always liked Glocks, and I never talked about it because it was the internet and you couldn't control what people would do with what you say out there.
Mm-hmm.
But all you got to do is take an armorer's course and you understand what a Glock 18 is, and you go, "Oh, how awesome is that?" Glocks are really, really neat. Now I know you can make a Beretta full auto because I make a full auto Beretta. I've never looked inside a Beretta enough to figure out how, but I don't know if they make a little gizmo or not. But yeah, I didn't think about that. But I never thought about it on other Glocks, except for something that's a complete carbon copy of a Glock. Obviously, it's going to be basically the same thing. But a lot of the striker fires, like a Ruger or something, or even the M&P, they're different enough that I never assumed that all strikers can do that. But I'm not California legislature, so. But that's interesting. So it's not a safety thing as much as we're scared of someone making it illegal or illegal, I guess, because they're going to break federal law and whatever other laws. But now we're going to make another state law just to make sure it's super illegal if they do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think what they
I
did
guess
was
it
just
starts
step on
off
that
as stupid.
crank. Well, the thing is, good because they got over ambitious, and I want them to push it because that's going to wake a hell of a lot of people up.
Wow, that brings me back to some conversations back in the day too. There were people that was a position like, let's get this over with already. Try to take away the Second Amendment. I mean, that's the big one. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
throw assault weapons ban out there again. Let's fight. Those kind
yeah,
of.
let's go.
I kind
Because
of
you
like the idea
failed.
of, like, let's remove everything and fight, as opposed to let's have
Mm-hmm.
you owner as bullshit on the table and let's fight. Because then I don't like the consequences of us losing. But if we say let's
Yeah.
remove everything and we lose, we just are where we are. But you know what I mean? If we
Mm-hmm.
they add a bunch of new shit and we lose, then we're fucked. But either way, yeah.
Yeah.
That was
No,
a big
my whole
position.
thing is go for the second. Go for the second. Go for the whole
Yeah.
hog. Quit bull crapping.
Yeah, seriously. I always was that position too. Like, that would give us all something to rally about, and like an ultimate, let's all get on board, because we definitely have the fractioning or the divisions where it's like, well, it's not really bothering me. I don't live there, or I don't shoot that kind of gun,
Mm-hmm.
or I wouldn't do that, or those people are criminals, or I don't know who those people are, or whatever the hell the fucking thing is.
Mm-hmm. But
It's
now
usually
when you're going for the firearm used by,
usually.
yeah, it's like now when you're going for the gun used by at one time, according to Glock, 60% of U.S. law enforcement. It's like, go ahead, buddy. Say it's illegal because guess what? 60% of U.S. law enforcement and a huge percentage of the civilians buy these firearms and own them, and you want to ban them. And it doesn't take much to prove to people, hey, if it happens in California, it's going to happen here too.
Do you know Open Source Defense, the blog?
Nope.
So it's a
What's that?
blog. It's a blog, and I think it's somebody that used to work at Facebook or something. I like the blog. It's not a regular blog. It comes out kind of whenever they feel like, I think it's a dude. I don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, they did one recently that was something, and I like because they always give an interesting POV point of view on stuff. But
Hmm.
their position was, you don't have to make things illegal because it's obvious that nobody's doing it, and it was something like, you don't have to make it illegal to run people over because look at how many people are driving and nobody's running each other over, and like, oh no,
Hmm.
I think it was gun laws don't matter because they're not stopping the people in some neighborhoods, and they don't matter to the people in other neighborhoods because some people are going to murder anyway, or like, some murders are going to
Hmm.
happen anyway and the law is not going to stop them, and other people aren't going to murder, and it's not because of the law, like they're not going to fucking murder. And
Yeah.
most people wake up in the morning and aren't going to murder, but you wake up in the morning and somebody smashes your kid with a truck and maybe you murder that day, like, and it wasn't because you premeditated it but because it happened, and there's consequences and shit. But you know what I'm saying, like that's the concept, is
Yep.
that the laws don't really, nobody goes, oh wait, well, I guess
I
anyway.
would
So
I would murder you. I would murder you, but it's against the law.
yeah, or like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
gonna come in here and use my guns to do bad things. Oh no, wait, there's a law against it, so I guess I won't do that. Like, that's just not happening
Yeah.
here.
You got saved from this mass shooting because it's illegal for me to bring this gun into the building.
Or like, oh, I'm not bringing a gun and I'll bring the gasoline can in, and somehow that's more righteous.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we won
No
a
one was
victory
shot.
because they died of burning instead of died of bullets. But okay, we're getting off on tangents. But anyway, that
Yep.
is shitty that they're brazen enough to think that they can do a law like that against all Glocks and not face consequences that would remove them from office, if more. Like actually give them some financial consequences to the burden they're putting on the state. I think it's just the printing in California, how much they waste on printing for stupid anti-gun shit, right?
Hmm.
Going on tangents here. We got a bunch of stuff. We're at 2 hours, so I don't know how long you want to chat, but the next
Yeah.
one is permit process is crazy in New York. It was a huge process and expensive, but just over the border in Pennsylvania, it was like 20 minutes and $20. And I've heard of that. I knew
Hmm.
when I first heard of someone getting the CCW, I think, or at least somebody that I knew, somebody that a good friend of mine, because am I allowed to say this? We used to carry because it was just a misdemeanor. And if you got in
Hmm.
trouble for carrying, they'd be like, don't carry. Then nobody cared. Like, so we would just carry. And then it was a thing, you could get a CCW, and I just didn't know anybody that did because we didn't want to go to the state and say we're carrying. We'd still carry because we figured with CCWs, what do they care? So anyway, here and there, that was 25 years ago or 30 years ago. But my one friend moved and he went to Indiana, and he goes, all I did is walk into the place and it was $300 and I have a lifetime CCW now.
Hmm.
He just walked in and it was like, less than an hour, something like he said, 20 minutes. And he had a lifetime CCW. I think it was $300. And I was like, wow, that's pretty neat. I wish we had lifetime CCWs here. But, and that's one of the first people I knew that got a CCW. And I was like, wow, like, even in Arizona, you have to apply and then it gets sent to you. Like, I don't think you can just walk in and get it. Maybe you can if you live right next to the building or something.
So with me, I got yeah, I'm going after the New York. Only because again, when I do fly out, because I'm not driving everywhere, I'm probably going to Florida Carries event in February of 26. Um, I don't want, again, because it's February. Can you imagine going to a 2A event in Florida where I carry? Because the whole point is Florida Carry. Make my speech, come back, and get diverted into New York, and then get arrested because I have a firearm that's illegal for me to carry in New York.
Well, you go to jail and then everyone would be like, free Tony. And there would be a big campaign and
Hmm.
probably have some time off, I guess. You could lift some weights.
Hmm. Get to work out.
Yeah. You can read. No, that would suck. Yeah, exactly. Well,
So
I
I'd
mean,
rather go ahead
it's
and
a
get that
thing and
permit.
it does happen. I don't think it's happening every day, at least. But
Hmm.
I guess I don't really know. Or how would we know?
But
Uh,
it's happened enough that it can be a possibility.
yeah, that it's a concern, right? Gun Owners Radio saying
Mhm.
it's a tough issue. I think this is when I was bitching about something earlier. It's a tough issue. Lawsuits are a pound of cure. The ounce of prevention that we're pushing or pursuing is getting more pro 2A people elected at the city and county levels. Yeah, and I've said it. I mean,
Mhm.
they're in here, so they're going to act like or they're going to think I'm saying it just because they're in here. But I'll say it again. I think Gun Owners Radio, San Diego Gun Owners is probably the hardest working organization at the local level. You know, they've got goal that are definitely, having issues right now, and the Virginia uh, Citizens Defense League has always been a real powerhouse at a
Mhm.
state level. But the idea of being aware of the politicians and interviewing them and keeping that um, messaging going out consistently enough at a weekly every week uh, schedule, so that when the politicians are available, they can come on, and they have a pretty good audience of people that are paying attention. But I think that's it's always been the biggest issue. Is I forget who even says it, because it's probably been around for a long time. But politicians start somewhere. They start at the, what is it called, the school board or the something board level, or the janitor board, or whatever, the landscape board or
Mhm.
something, and then they either like it or they hate it. And if they like it, they go on to the next thing, and pretty soon they're on some kind of council, and then they're the somebody's something, and then they're the representative to something, and if they dig it, then they go to state and then national level. And if you can um, get people that are on board with us, or at least able to talk to us about our issues and understand them, and understand that that's a portion of their voter base, then we win. And I think we're not.
Yep.
It's the same thing I was bitching before, that like we shouldn't be saying we need to get more women on board. We should be recognizing that women are on board and have been for a while. Same thing. We've got Teresa. We've got Rebecca. We've got Eli out here in Arizona. We've got people who are pro 2A on in the that are elected, but that's a massive, what's the word, potential, right? Like we definitely don't have a lot of elected ones, obviously, but I'm not bitching. We've got a pretty good first 100 days. I mean, I guess we haven't talked about that Trump stuff or nothing, but there was a lot of
Mhm.
attention posted like this last week on, was it this last week, or at least recently, about the 100 days of Trump or whatever. And I saw a couple
Mhm.
of people bitching, but I think most people are pretty impressed with the stuff he's done for guns and Second Amendment in the first 100,
Well,
or not like him,
yeah, I'm
but
gonna,
people.
yeah, I'm gonna bitch. You know what I mean? I'm gonna bitch about it because, and
Sure.
it's not even just falling on him. It's falling on us, gun people. Like, hey, we need to be pushing. We need to be making phone calls. We need to be giving them expectations of what we want, not just sit and go, hey, what does he do today? No, this is what I asked him to do. This is what I demanded of him. This is what I sent out to my Republican representatives, because this is the time that Republicans love to talk. Excuse me, they don't say anything. Like, they don't say anything about pushing an agenda. They only talk about being tough and Second Amendment and the bills. We need pro 2A bills when they're not in power. So this is the time to actually pull up all those bills they pulled up, all those bills they proposed, and go, hey, why aren't you guys passing this? This is what you proposed when the Democrats were in charge. Oh, this is the time. No, it's the perfect time. Let's go. Like, go ahead and pass the things that you've been talking about, that you've proposed already, that got shot down because you didn't have the majority. Now you do. Let's go. What's the excuse? That's what we need to be pushing right now.
I was muted. Gavin Newsom started as the mayor of San Francisco, Gun Owners Radio saying. So you think that guy will be
Gavin Newsom
running for
also
president?
started at Nancy. He also started as Nancy Pelosi's nephew. That kind of helps too.
For sure, right? Being in that whole like bloodstream. Do you think
Well, then you get,
he'll be running for
yeah, you
president?
get a plan. Yeah, he will. You got a plan mapped out, and that helps that you had family connections with a plan mapped out. But that is the plan. You start small and you work your way up. You hit towns, then you hit cities, towns, cities. and then you're on the federal level. That's why he passed a lot of the stuff he passed. He present what he, just like Phil Murphy's ugly ass here in New Jersey. He presents things because he know it to be seen on national level. His speeches aren't made to New Jersey residents. Some of his speeches are totally directed at his next move, which is, running for president.
It's a good point, and I'm hearing that you got kind of people are testing the waters. They run for that first office and they see if they like it. They're also seeing if their message is going to get any kind of if it's going to float, and if it does or doesn't, right, will indicate if they keep going, right. So yeah, if you've got
Mm-hmm.
people that are supporting the gun owners' rights, then giving them support is just as important as them being there, right? Like making sure that they want to
Mm-hmm.
stay there, I guess, is just as important as getting them there.
Yeah, my favorite was Beto O'Rourke, thinking he was going to be able to, go further, and he just got shut down multiple times, and he just died on the vine. Hell yes, we're going to take your F-15s, your AK-47s. He was going to be the anti-gun czar.
Oh, that dude from Texas.
Died. Yeah, died.
And then he
Just
didn't
didn't
come
make it.
back for he was one thing and then he lost and then he came back with the same stupid messaging and lost again hard.
Oh, he tried to switch up and say he's really not going after your gun rights. And it's like, hey, bro, you were the one running around saying, hell yes, we're going to take this, we're going to take that. And it's like, okay, yeah, nobody's buying your bull crap, homie. Doesn't mean he's gone forever, though. I mean, David Hogg will probably be back.
Oh, for sure. I think that's one of their barometers to see how well their messaging is working in general, because it's a solid, what's the word? It's like a consistent read they're going to get. Like they can jab as hard as they want into gun owners, and they know that we're just going to, not care. The exploiters are going to love it, so they're actually feeding their arch enemies or whatever. But anything they jab over into, we need to have a bigger assault weapons ban, or we need to have a magazine, like whatever they throw at, the thing is going to appease or appeal to their
Mm-hmm.
constituents, and it's going to just be more of the status quo for the back and forth for the antis, for their for the pro gun people. So anyway, there's nothing for them to lose to throw that shit out there. So yeah. And anyway, I think it's also a barometer for them. Like they do that knowing there's nothing to lose, but then, okay, so there's assault weapons ban, blah, 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 blah. Make a bunch of noise, have a press conference. And if they get $25 from it, okay, they learned something. But 6 months later, if they go, assault weapon, or maybe they say, magazine ban or whatever, blah, 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 and they get $500, now they know, blah, 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 magazine ban worked better, right? So I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit of that test in the waters, seeing how much money they can get out of their constituents. There's probably some tit for tat bullshit with it. There's something. When people get mad about Wayne for his suit, but they should also get mad about that whole dynamic that the NRA would go to Washington and fucking back and forth with whoever the fuck, Brady, I
Mm-hmm.
guess, or Bloomberg, and be like, oh, we'll do this and this. People say compromise. What was compromise? Sitting in a room fucking back and forth, blah, blah, blah. We want to take this. Well, how about you just take
Mm-hmm.
that? Well, that was fucking that kind of shit. Like, let's sit in a room and fucking everybody's fucking rights are on the table type of shit. Like, that kind of crap is, we don't want to see that kind of shit. Gun Owners Radio is saying it's another gun law. Wait, isn't another gun law proof that 20,000 gun laws that came before it didn't work? But I don't think that's their logic. I think that's
No, and we brought it up in meetings.
they're
Like, wait a
thinking of
minute.
it as like
So,
fibers or like fiberglass. They look at it as like the more gun laws we have, the stronger we'll be. Like they don't see one failing. They see it as the together we're stronger type of scenario, I think.
yeah, don't try to apply logic to them because, again, I think the best thing that somebody said, Anthony Calandro said it. Once you realize they hate you, it all starts to make sense.
That's a good point. And after I went to that anti-gun rally in shit, maybe 18, something like that, and would that have been the right time frame? It could have been 17 or something in Phoenix. And we went up there because we were really activism, into being activists, and it wasn't that
Hmm.
expensive to drive up to Phoenix back then. And there was a lot of us on gun channels that were in Arizona, so we went up there and experienced the anti-gun rally, which was in effect, it was 18,000 people. To put it in perspective, and put it in proportion, I guess, or whatever. Um, when we have a pro gun thing every year in February, Tony talked about, the GOA took it over. If we're lucky, and I don't believe
Hmm.
any of these numbers, if they're given the numbers that we normally give, they'll say 2,000 people show up. And I don't believe that. I think it's more like 1,000 maybe, or a couple of hundred, shy of 1,000, because I've counted, taken still pictures and counted the people in the pictures.
Hmm.
And I don't see, I guess I'm not accounting for people that show up and leave, right? Like, so, I'm seeing like a snapshot of 1,000 people, maybe over the 4-hour time, that means 2,000 people were there. But anyway, as far as crowds being there at the same time, we can show up with 2,000 people if we're lucky. This was 18,000 people. So Tony was in Phoenix. Imagine those streets that, surrounded the where we were at. If it was the
Hmm.
opposite, if the streets were completely full of people in the complete U shape all around that park, and the park was empty. That's the how it was. It was like a parade of people. We were up there watching them
That's
come
crazy.
by. I mean, I don't even know how they staged. Like, there was just a shit ton of people, and it was moms. It was moms and little kids, and there wasn't much dudes in it. It was mostly moms and little kids with their moms, type of thing, and then maybe like a school group of little kids with like a teacher. And I'm saying little kids, like high school and younger, like old enough to walk down a street,
Hmm.
not like babies, but basically kids being told, hey, we're going to go to this parade and it's anti-gun or whatever. But it was really anti-Trump. And that's what I was getting at. It's 18,000 people show up, and it's like, yeah, they have signs that say anti-gun, but what they're chanting is, we fucking hate Trump. And just vile
Hmm.
shit, they hate Trump. And it was like a cosplay for people that hated Trump. And it was just, guns was the flavor of the day. It could have been, we hate pool drownings, and we hate people falling downstairs, because
Hmm.
Trump is pro stairs. He thinks everyone should have second floors, and we think second floors are bad for the environment. We hate Trump. You could have put in anything instead of guns, and they would have hated Trump, and it's just as bad. And that's where I was like, okay, this is a giant fucking game of, and I'm like, if this is the game, then I'm like, you know what? I don't care. Like, I don't care if you like Trump or not. Let's just get guns out of the equation. Let's put something else in there. Like, Trump likes cars. Like,
Hmm.
cars in there. Like, Trump likes cigars. Sorry, not, you don't want to put cigars in there, but put something else in there
Yeah.
besides guns, and let that community fight for their shit, because these people really don't have their skin in the game for guns. They probably could care less about guns if it wasn't like, you know, marketed to them to hate guns. But, I mean, out of those 18,000, probably 2,000 of them would hate guns. But you know what I mean? I think most of them were just there because it was something to do on a Saturday. All right. So
100%.
we still have a couple more. Oh, that's the one we just did. Gizzard's out there. Welcome. I think Foss is out there. Today is Saturday. He'll have a show later on today. I believe Brooke will have her show later on today. As we start talking a bit here, I will attempt to go in and link up Brooke's show if it's posted already. But Gunswater said, now you know why they let so many Glock switches into the country and right into the hood.
Mm.
It's interesting. So I don't know about all the, conspiracy theory about that kind of shit. But if you're a criminal and you know your Glock because you've seen it on a movie or something, or you just know from the internet or something that your Glock can go full auto, I mean, what the fuck? Aren't you going to want your Glock to go full auto? You're already breaking the laws. Especially if the kids down the street are going full auto. Like, aren't you going to spend the $35 or whatever to go full auto? But I don't even know if it needs to come from, what was that, the Timu, or was it, I forget what the name of that company is that does the like ads or whatever, and people would be like, oh, this is, like they'll sell suppressor parts, or they'll sell the switches, or they'll sell maybe an AR paper clip or something, do the same thing. So people are like, oh, these are the FBI or whatever, ATF, like, what do they call that, like plants or whatever, entrapment
Hmm.
posts or whatever. But I don't even know if you need to order that, because there's 3D printers. And we
So
know from the
my whole
3D
thing is,
printers in New York stuff, it takes like an hour to make a bunch of 3D printed switches. Go ahead.
actually, I kind of agree with them though. These things were allowed in the country. I mean, it's just like, stop it. They were tens of thousands, if not more, as it came in over a long period of time for people to start hearing about it.
I
Same
don't
thing with,
disagree. I'm just saying I think they can
Fast
be
and
made
Furious.
here also is all. I mean, they're pretty simple.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, they were allowed in the country, just like Fast and Furious was allowed to happen. And then they go, oh, it's because America's bringing guns into Mexico that somehow drug gangs that smuggle metric tons of drugs in the country couldn't get guns otherwise. I'm like, really? That's what you want to friggin' try to push? The drug cartels who have things like armored vehicles and surface to air missiles, they couldn't get a semi-automatic firearm without America. Get out of here. That's the same thing they tried with Haiti, if you remember or not. They were trying to paint that same thing. I actually did it as a post on X. They were trying to say because of America gun laws that people are buying guns in Florida and smuggling them into Haiti, and that's why the Haitian, uh, Haiti's like it is now, overrun by gangs, armed gangs. And I'm like, all you did was change the origin of the country, because this is the same thing you tried to do with Operation Fast and Furious. Blame America for the illegal stuff that happened in another country. Again, when you realize they hate you, it all starts to make sense. Nothing is beyond them trying. Nothing is beyond them saying, even if it doesn't make sense, that they've tried it before and proven to be liars.
Yeah, and I don't think that there's again, it's like a no lose situation for them. If they, like you say,
Hmm.
if they allowed it or if they encouraged it, even doesn't really matter because now they can say guns are bad. See, and here's another reason why guns are bad.
Hmm. Because the guns are bad. And if it doesn't, because we just had a mass shooting. Oh, well, okay. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that, right?
No, I
The
think I missed
Florida,
it. I think it must have been something that didn't stick on the news because it.
yeah, Florida State. Florida State University friggin' mass shooting. So it happened the same day. This is what happened. I told you about the guys over at the study I did, right, to play part in Black gun ownership in New Jersey that was being instituted by Bloomberg funded uh, Rutgers gun violence study. Or I didn't tell you about that.
Sorry, say that again. I was reading some of the comments here.
So I was part, a friend of mine called me, and I was actually a part of the Rutgers, hold on, get off me, the Rutgers gun violence study from the Rutgers School of Public Health.
Oh no, yeah, I remember.
So I'm talking to, okay, so yeah, it's, hold on, I'm looking at it now, Gun Violence Research Center. So I'm there, and I invited them to my diversity shoot. So they came. It was Dr. Kimberly Burke and her assistant, I think Jennifer. They came to my event, and it was the same day as the FSU mass shooting. So it was topic when I got there. So there was no way I was even going to attempt to duck it. I turned right into it, and talked about it because it was trending. It was all over X. By the time the event was over, it had disappeared off the trending page because it didn't line up with their agenda and who they wanted it to be. Ends up, it was, the child of a law enforcement officer that used her firearm to shoot up the campus where they have 85 law enforcement officers full time. And they still didn't get to it. And it didn't have the body count they wanted. So immediately it disappeared off the front pages and stopped trending within 8 hours. So they will push these things, and if it checks enough columns for them, they'll run with it. And if it doesn't, it disappears immediately. And then they'll just use it as a statistic. This was a mass shooting. This was a mass shooting. This was a mass shooting. Well, to prepare for this event where I knew I was going to have researchers at, I looked up how many actual mass shootings, and not the bullcrap that they called it, but the people that come up with the definition for mass shootings. Federal Bureau of Investigations. There are rarely more than 60 a year actual mass shootings that meet their definition. They're less than 60 most years. So they're not happening all the time. And it's for people that aren't related to the shooter that are killed, not just someone shooting. And if you consider that this is a country of almost 400 million people, um, that's not a lot. That's not even. I totally understand that it's a tragedy to the individuals that are involved, but there's nothing that happens. It's nothing that should affect the national right to own the right to own firearms of every American,
Right.
because
It
it's
doesn't
that rare.
outweigh the decision of the millions and millions of people every day that decide to do no harm with the things that they own.
Yeah. So when I pointed out that less than 500 people were killed a year from mass shootings, and somehow they're trying to push that as an epidemic, but they say nothing about the 100,000 plus that died from medical malpractice. I'm like, yeah, so the doctors against gun violence or whatever they call their group need to shut the hell up. You need to control your own people, and stay out of the gun debate, because again, more people drown a year than die from AR-15s. But you're killing 100,000 people a year through medical malpractice.
We lose something like what, 60,000? No, it's 40. It goes down to 11. So we lose 30,000 people to suicides. And that's
Hmm.
something that there can be things done about that. That, is proportional to, you put effort into it. It's proportional to saving people, where, complaining about the something huge is, less constructive, I guess. But yeah, I hear what you're saying, that well, it's frustrating. um Gun Foodie is saying gun owners are the most proactive for their ability to defend themselves, but least active in getting involved to defend our rights. Agree
Hmm.
at right now, but it kind of was. I guess the reason I'm frustrated is because that comes and goes. It's a fluctuating thing. I think of 19 as probably a real high point in activism, um, awareness of activism, and it being a cool thing to do. I'm often disappointed at the YouTube, uh, whatever you want to call, community of creators, because I was part of it from 2009 to 2000. Well, now I guess, but from 2009 through the 2019 era, that 10-year span. It was a really neat time to be on YouTube as a gun person, because not only did YouTube become a thing, but the gamer, what are they called? Agents came over, and after they made a bunch of money with the gamer people on YouTube, they came over to the gun people and started making a shit ton of money with the gun people, just as Obama came along in 2013 and did some stuff. So it just turned into a really interesting time. And so by the time 2019 happened, we had really got our understanding of what we could do as content creators. And although almost none of the big content creators had done a fucking thing towards Second Amendment actual work, other
Hmm.
than some exploitation here and there, enough to know that they weren't going to make money doing it. So that's why they never went at it. I mean, it was just a money thing. They were all trying to make money
Hmm.
desperately. They were making millions of dollars. So it's not like, I mean, you can understand it. They were making millions of dollars for fucking playing with guns. But it was frustrating for me because I knew that they had these muscles to flex. And in 2019, we actually had this rally happen with no, what would you say? It was more than just no denomination, because that implies religion, I think, right? Like, it was
Yeah.
no organization touched it. It wasn't Second
Yeah.
Amendment Foundation. It was not GOA. It was not NRA. In fact, it was, if anything,
It
it
was
was
funded by private
right.
people.
it was a bunch of, we can say it now, it was a bunch of people that had donated a shit ton of money to NRA and got really pissed and decided to withhold that money. And we're talking shit tons of money, so they could put a little pile of that money and make this whole rally happen. So I think it was just a few rich people that just didn't give their money to the NRA and gave a portion of it to Jeff and what's his face, Pincus. So what the hell?
Mm-hmm.
Pincus is first name.
Rob.
Rob. I was thinking Jeff Pincus, and I'm like, it ain't Jeff Pincus. Anyhow, Rob and Jeff, right, pretty much ran it. But that was an amazing situation. And because no one was attached to it, a bunch of the pussy losers who are scared to do shit actually came and did stuff there and tried to act like all of a sudden they're activists or like they've been activists the whole time or whatever. But it was good because it happened, but it also showed them that they didn't get anything for it and they never came back again. And they, in fact, probably went the opposite way and never did anything activism again because they failed so miserably. And they probably also hung out with a bunch of people that were real and were like, oh shit, we're fucking lightweights. We make a bunch of money. We make more money than everybody in this fucking event. You know, like it didn't cost us shit to be here. We probably got paid to be here. All these people are going bankrupt here. But they probably felt real bad that they're not doing shit with their millions of freaking views every week. But anyway, what I saw is in 2019 is like the ultimate momentum. And I just happened to be paying attention at the time, full time. Like that was all I was doing, is paying attention to this stuff. And one of the things I was doing is writing the calendars, you know, trying to keep the calendars up to date. And we went from something like 16 2A rallies in 2019, that, you know, culminating in that one in November. And then in 2020, we had like 6 rallies a month or some shit. I might be exaggerating, but there was a shit ton of rallies. There was so many rallies in 2020. It was going to be the most epic year for Second Amendment ever. And then guess what happened? And nothing fucking happened. Like 2 months worth of shit happened and it all shut down. And instead of anything happening, it all became like, SHOT Show happened, and it was an okay SHOT Show because it hadn't happened yet, but it was sort of a SHOT Show of like, this is going to be a good year for 2A, right? Like that kind of a SHOT Show. But then COVID happened and it ruined everything as far as the industry and stuff. But as far as the activism side, everybody got like scared about going to rallies, and then it became like, oh, fuck you for not having the rally. Fuck you, we can't have a rally. Blah, blah, blah. And it kind of degraded a bunch of, I don't know, say unity, but potential. Hold on, you fell out. You know, it kind of fell apart there. But that was outside influence. I mean, what the fuck? Everything fell apart that year. But that was frustrating. Like so when you say that frustrating, we're not good at defending our rights, like we have been. Like we have fucking been. Like for a minute there, we really, really got close. And can you imagine if that rally would have been a little bit different? Like if that rally would have resulted in a 2020 without COVID, and rally after rally after rally, and all these losers on YouTube would have gone, we need to get our asses to a rally or we're not relevant anymore. And that brought masses of people who are just kind of the kids, the people that are playing around with guns, like, oh, guns are fun because I see them on the internet. Or I mean, I see them on my video games. But now they're like, oh, rallies, like being a part of it. I really thought we had I think we could have had a real potential there to change the whole dynamic of guns and stuff. Because think about where GOA was in 2020. It was a whole fucking different organization in 2020. And if they would have grown to where they are now, but that with a massive foundation of rallies, like we know that they'll take rallies. We know that they're capable of doing events. What would the world be like with GOA rallies in every state every year? Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't play that game only because it's frustrating because of where we almost. But it was because we had November, right? We had November 2019, and that lit a fire under a lot of people, and they wanted to be a part of it. And we went into 2020, and there were all kinds of rallies planned because I would advertise them, you know, in my stories. I would put them in the stories. And SHOT Show happened, and that's when Maj invited me to SHOT so I could speak at that Unity meeting that we had that hardly anyone in the industry was at. But we spoke there, and you had us all on stage. You know what I mean? You had a lot of Second Amendment advocates on stage that are still in the fight now. We were there. Well, I don't even feel we got exposure, but we were on stage and we got to meet each other. And some of us still work together. We talk. We've been at events. We helped organize events. We did all that crap there. And then COVID hit and shut stuff down across the country. But yeah, I do feel we had momentum going. But people kind of forget at the time I was at SHOT Show on stage without the industry responding. The Virginia Citizens Defense League had 50,000 people march on Richmond the same day.
Yeah, game changer
So
for
yeah,
Virginia. No violence at all,
so
not
I
a hint of it. A
yeah
massive show, massive display, massive show of support, and it changed
armed
Virginia for a couple of years.
armed Americans showed up in Richmond, Virginia to protest. For the Second Amendment, and there was no violence, no anything. And they tried to push it because my brother lives there, and my brother was like, "Yeah, I'm getting out before all the what did he say? All the rednecks with guns show up." And I'm like, "Hey, bro, you might want to stop believing all the bullcrap you're being told because there was a whole bunch of people that looked like you there, and everybody was strapped, and there was nothing."
And you
I was
make a
like,
good point that that also happened while the biggest industry event was happening. So, like at the same
"Yeah."
exact moment in time, like two large concurrent events were happening. That's pretty neat.
So I had Phil, the president of Virginia Citizens Defense League. I interviewed him at NRA last week, and we spoke for a while. And he was talking about that. That was really a big thing, and I think people tend to forget how important that was and how awesome, in my opinion, it was. But gun people love to complain also that nothing's being done while things are being done, but it's the consistency that falls off because these things need to be funded.
And there's
So,
a lot
when
of it.
people
Like, if
talk
I
about,
didn't do it, then I'm not talking about it. I didn't support it, then whatever. Or I didn't, fund it, then that's not on my radar.
that's annoying too. Oh,
And
that
that
is so annoying.
it's just
Um,
it's a factor, but I'm not complaining too hard. That's probably capitalism. That's just when you've got just like you don't expect one sports team to give a shit about another sports team. Like every once in a while, like, oh, okay, we can acknowledge that that player did something amazing, and across all the teams, but we kind of expect that. Or I'm not expecting all of them to stand around holding hands, constantly encouraging each other, and worrying about what each other are doing. We kind of want them to be separate. I think probably as
well,
much as
it bothers me that they won't promote each other's work.
that's the frustrating part. Yeah,
Look, yeah, it's like, hey, bro, you're not going to get everyone in the country. You're not going to have 300,000 people, 300 million people at your rally, bro. All right, so it's okay. Your rally that's happening in New Jersey isn't going to have people fly in from. We're not going to have every gun owner fly from California. So it's okay for someone in California to actually promote your thing, and it's good for you to promote their thing. Like, stop it. Stop gatekeeping freedom. Let people know about other organizations, which is really funny because that's what I started out with Diversity Shoot. I'm like, your organization, come. So we had NRA show up. We had NRA ILA, excuse me, showed up, and we had CNJFO show up. They're the only ones. It's not like I've excluded anyone, by the way. I've never told anyone not to come to my events. No Second Amendment organization has been uninvited. They just won't show up. They
well,
won't show up.
maybe two a month for years and years and years and years isn't enough for them. Like it's not enough for their schedule. It's a
Yeah,
tight schedule.
yeah. Maybe sending a rep twice a month for a decade, for people to hear about that might not want the NRA because of whatever. I mean, the NRA has been getting beat up in this public image, and there was a time that you could have made headway if you were another organization. CNJFO in New Jersey has made a lot of headway, and they have a crap ton of people that have joined their organization to the point now they've gone from just being somebody who goes and testifies to an organization that actually launches lawsuits because of the membership has grown through going to events like mine, supporting events like mine, doing things like the hog hunts, doing Actually being the busiest Second Amendment organization in New Jersey and not just sitting back waiting for a check.
So this one came in from New York a while back, 22 minutes ago, I think. And he has a great point, and I don't think this one comes up enough in the conversations that I'm in or that I pay attention to. So I like this one. Has anyone ever tried using their tactics, like flooding places with ads about how being a gun owner makes you feel good for whatever reasons? And I think I've seen gun shops be kind of clever, with some marketing, billboards and stuff. Maybe NSSF, but no, I don't think I've seen any campaigns. There was a campaign in Arizona called Gun Saves Lives. Alan Corwin, I think that's the guy. I think it was Alan.
Mm-hmm.
Did a bunch of billboards that said "Guns Save Lives," and he got sued, and he took it to court, and the people were getting mad at him for having that messaging, and he's like First Amendment issue and whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
but that was a dude just kind of doing it as kind of like a stunt, I would call it, like there was a stunt with a reason, right? Like a stunt with a motive, a positive motivation. But and then a lot of people have taken that gun saves lives and run with it, and he's let them. But aside from that messaging, which I believe was against some kind of public transportation ban in Phoenix or something like that. So it was not directly, but sort of a campaign to create awareness for guns. But that was just one guy. So I'm assuming that had to have been, the opportunity's been there for other single individuals to have done that all around the world, or the country at least. So I'm assuming that's happened before. But I'm trying to think of like an organization that have done anything that's like, the thing is, it's like even Gun Saves Lives is a defensive thing. And I don't consider that the same as like, just leave fucking guns alone. Like, how about we have that campaign? Like, how about leave fucking gun owners alone already? Like, how about just go mind your business? Because it doesn't have to be like, go defend your life or be worried about criminals. Like, go fucking, I don't care if you're worried about criminals. I'm not really worried about criminals. I don't carry a gun, so I'm worried about a criminal. I probably carry a gun more because I'm worried about like a rabid coyote or a rabid mountain lion, jumping out at somebody, than I am worried about the other kind of coyote, a criminal or something. But that's just
I'm worried. I'm worried about being kidnapped and sold as a sex slave overseas.
Dude. That's why, well, they say the little people have to worry about that. Larger people, we have security against being kidnapped.
Yeah. What is it? I'm not victim weight. So yeah,
people, if you want to try kidnapping me.
yeah. It's like, did you draw your gun? No, I just acted as if all of my muscles stopped working and I was boneless, and they gave up after two of them pulled their back. You know what? Not him. Let's get someone else. You fat people are harder to kidnap.
But no, I think that's a great concept.
But yeah, I mean, I don't feel the firearms.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you think what's a great concept?
The idea of just campaigns that create awareness. Like I say, I think that's the best way to get people off our back. Education and awareness. Education, and I've always bitched about NSSF because they did the child safe bothers me. It usually says something to the effect of, hey, gun owners, don't forget to lock up your guns, when we have almost fucking zero accidents. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating when it's like almost fucking zero accidents with guns, because everyone knows that they're fucking dangerous. Like, we're not stupid. We all know they're dangerous. Even like the dumbest of criminals know guns are dangerous. And, if they're drunk or something, yeah, they have problems. And kids that have no training at all have problems, obviously. But almost everybody, obviously, because we have so few accidents, like, does an amazing job of teaching everybody to leave guns, be safe with guns. And, no one gets to take the credit for that. Like, that's just a thing. But guess what? We also don't have like a scourge of people flipping hot pots of boiling water or like fry oil onto themselves, right? Because everybody does the same job of keeping ourselves aware of like hot stoves. And guess what? Nobody gets run over by cars because we all understand how cars work. See what I mean? Like, we're just all not stupid. So I think that NSSF could do a much better job saying, gun owners have almost no accidents. It's like we're afraid to call our shot and take credit for the fact that we have almost no accidents. But anyway, I think that's one of those things. Like if once people figured out that like kind of all the stuff we know, that most of the problems with guns are criminals being mean to each other, and that the antis who are grabbing their pearls and claiming that guns are so dangerous are misleading everyone, right? And not just illustrating that, because that's what we've done and that doesn't work, but getting to the, what's the word, like the other side of that. Like, sure, we know that they're wrong about their statistics, but let's not challenge their statistics. That's where we lose, because everyone's eyes roll over and nobody gives a shit about us challenging their statistics. But instead, let's just talk about how gun ownership is fucking none of your business. Like, gun ownership isn't that big a deal. Gun ownership is normal. Like, I think that's one of the best things about Professor Yamane. Like, guns are normal. It's like, that's the best. Normal people have guns. Like, that's the messaging that we got to get out there. And you know, how do you do that? By having everybody grab a corner and lift that sheet into the air, right? Like, that's so easy. Like, there's no wrong answer, except for the extremists of people who are the most fucking weird. Like, everybody can just share what they do with guns. Like, what if I shared what I do with guns, people get bored as fuck. Like, I have documented evidence that people don't give a shit about what I like about guns. You know, like all the weird nuances I like about guns. And I literally have documented evidence based on, I can do a video that says I was able to buy this in the mail and it has thousands of views. Like, I have a channel that works, but if I put up a video about anything I like about guns, like I get 16 people that like that video. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's some boring stuff about guns out there. Once people figure out that guns are just like cars or cooking or guitars or any other hobby, that they'll leave us alone. And anyway, so I think that that's the kind of stuff that I'm reading in this message, is if we would do some like real valuable messaging on how guns are boring and gun owners just leave us alone, quit falling for the idea that we're the culprits in violence or in tragedy, then no, I shouldn't say tragedy, in atrocity, then we'd eventually we wouldn't have to fight for this stuff. I mean, I guess I could be wrong. I just don't think I am. I think that if the other side didn't hate guns, then they wouldn't fall for the guns are bad bullshit.
It's a lot of stuff going on. I mean, it's annoying to me. Uh, it's annoying to me because we're always on the defensive, and I'm like, they're lying. 400 million guns. If they were as bad as you people say, you wouldn't have to wait for tragedies to take place to try to push your agenda, because it's not. You refuse to talk about people that saved their life. There's people who save lives continually with this. This is our natural right of self defense, one part. The other part is there's a lot of stuff I do with firearms that have nothing to do with self defense. It's a thing. Somehow you can see car racing and car shows and even car shows that just is nothing but cars with booming ass systems in it. They have car shows dedicated to that. Cars cause way more death and destruction than firearms in the hands of law-abiding, responsible armed citizens.
Exactly.
Significantly more.
Right.
And somehow you can somehow separate the car from the drunk driver that has a crash, or the angry a-hole that drove into a crowd. You can somehow separate that person from the tool he used. But when it comes to a firearm, it's all of us. And you don't ask yourself, how did you get there? And that's why I speak to people, one on one, doing what I do in the classroom with 25 people, because you can put that out there. I don't have to have your answer, but I can put it out and ask that question without attacking you. Going, why can you separate the drunk driver from the vehicle and not go, we need to ban cars?
I think I have an
But
answer. It's because cars aren't demonized. Like, guns have been effectively demonized
mhm.
by, a long-term campaign that, well, guns are bad. People that like guns are bad by association, or must be somehow evil or something.
Yeah, You've been propagandized to the point that me saying this makes me look strange. Yeah, but don't you know guns are what? An inanimate object you're about to shoot in the other room is somehow evil and has a personality and makes you do something? The car you drove here in is more dangerous than that 22 you're going to shoot in the booth.
It's I think that if you had like, I don't know, some kind of race car, Corvette or a Mustang or some kind of fast car, right? And you're,
Hmm.
it's not a rental, somebody's just letting you borrow it or whatever, and it's full tank of gas and you got to go from here to there. It's like a 2 hour drive. You're probably going to drive fast in that car. If you get a some kind of car that's tall, 4-wheel drive or something maybe, and it seems kind of, you're not used to it, and it seems like a little bit top heavy, you're not going to go as fast, right? You're going to be satisfied driving a little slower. So I think it's true that if you got like I don't know, one of these Largo, is that the name of that really low
Hmm.
borax new semi-auto?
Yeah.
You get something like that, and
Yeah.
you're shooting like a 40 or something, a snappy low caliber, or something smooth like a 380, like you're saying, and you might shoot that faster than you might shoot. Obviously, it's faster than you're going to shoot a bolt action, right? Even if you're like, oh, I'm not going to
Hmm.
hero waste ammo, but you're going to still shoot a semi-auto faster than you're going to shoot a bolt action. It's just the nature of it. So I'll give you that. Like, there's different guns and stuff. Like, all guns aren't the same, but yeah, you don't
Hmm.
just get to lump them all together or whatever. Like you say, the cars aren't. Well, I'm going to say demonized again. Like, the cars aren't. There's not an agenda against cars. And
Yeah,
when
but
there
there's
was
definitely a
an
gender against
agenda
it.
against the action of drunk driving, it wasn't like cars are bad and by association drivers are bad because they drink. But, you know what I mean? Because there's drunk drivers, you're an asshole because you own a car. Or like you should have to go through an extra background check to make sure you're not going to be a drunk driver. Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like they could have done that whole differently. Instead, they said, drunk driving's not a good idea. Let's see what we can do to avoid that. How about one person doesn't drink and they drive everybody home? Here's is that a compromise or is that a strategy? I don't know if that's really a compromise because I honestly think drunk drive, the whole, so what's that called? The designated driver thing. I don't like drinking.
Hmm.
So I don't care if you want to call me a designated driver. I would have been the guy probably drinking sodas or something that night anyway, because I don't mind getting drunk, but I don't like getting drunk in public.
Anyway.
I don't know what's
Yep.
going on when there's people, as I happen to know, there's people that like to go to bars to get in fights. Like that's their whole fucking pastime. Like that's their whole hobby. And
Yeah.
they usually like to go fight a big guy.
Yep.
Like nobody wants to go fight a little guy. You get in trouble for that. You go fight a big guy, everybody thinks you're a fucking hero. So I
Yep.
don't like being drunk when that kind of shit's involved. Like other people don't have to worry about that shit, I guess. But so anyway, so judges need a driver's like, yeah, fuck it. Like, no problem. I don't want to be the guy drinking a soda or whatever, especially if it's free. And it's even better. All right, well, we're going to have on a tangent there. Like White said,
Yeah.
in the rallies,
Want
I
to start?
went to Gun Rights Policy Conference in Salt Lake City. I'd like to, but
No.
at the same time, I'm not paying. I mean, they're not paying for me to go there. If I got somehow hit the lottery or something, I'll be there. But I'm not spending hard-earned money to go. I like the concept. I wish they would grow. I did notice. I'm gonna give them some credit. They did post on X. What would you like us to speak about at Gun Rights Policy Conference? And I pinned that on my X actually because I thought that was uh, decent. Because that's my main concern with them. Is I really like the concept a lot. I've been to too many of them. They don't change, and that's my concern is that they're not changing. And we need development and change and movement. We don't need like I like archives. I like knowing history. I don't want to live fucking history every fucking month year. I don't want the same fucking
Mm.
thing. And we definitely need growth. Like we need more. I don't know what the words are, but we definitely don't need the same fucking thing. I think it's more than just it's like literally the same thing. Like there's some lawyers that get up and tell us definitions of shit that we don't need at all, period. And we definitely don't need them year after year. And then organizations get up and introduce themselves and they shouldn't need to anymore. One, we should know who they are, but two, they don't, you only need to introduce yourself once. You don't need to be a whole show to do this. That being said, hopefully they'll change something or they'll change things up. They have been adapting and doing things differently the last couple of years, I guess. Adams and
Yeah.
Chuck.
I mean, look. Yeah, Adam's in charge now, so things are going to change. But it's like, yo, bro. Like I spoke to John Farner about me speaking at Goals, and I'm like, look, if you fly me there, if you pay for my hotel or something, it makes it worthwhile to me. But if you don't, it's not.
Yeah, activism doesn't
I
make you.
mean,
I mean, maybe if you were selling some kind of merch, I guess. I try to get Tony to sell merch, but now it's probably tougher because of the whole fucking bullshit with China. But if you were selling some kind of thing that you paid $5 for and you made $35 every time it sold, uh, then you were guaranteed to sell 100 of them. So yeah, now it's worth going
yeah,
there, right? But you're not doing that. That's not your game.
yeah. Well, I don't know until I got a booth at NRA. Man, do you know how hard I was wishing that I had some of those patches with me? When I'm like, I'm in this booth all day, man. I could be selling these things for freaking $20 a piece
Well, yeah.
because I was on the NRA floor. Yeah, you know what I mean. I was on the floor of NRA, and I didn't have to pay the $4 grand for a booth, $2 to $4 grand for a booth. I'm like,
And
dude,
is that something they're
I could
cool with?
sell these.
Yeah, that would actually be ideal. That's really what merch is for. So again, somebody's at NRA, they're probably there with at least $100 in cash. They're probably more than that if they're expecting to buy something. But and
Well,
then people know like,
for
hey, this
that, I
$20 to
mean,
get a patch. I mean, that's not unheard of. It's like that's a decent, like I'm trying to get something accomplished with this patch. It's not like a $50 patch where it's like, I'm trying to
yeah,
like we're trying to get money for Sharon. She's trying to beat cancer. I should mention that sometime during the
yeah,
show later on. But for that, like we're trying to raise funds. Like then it's a $50 patch. But like a $20 patch, like that's helped me get things done. I've done that for a number of years. I mean, I didn't make money. I mean, there was money. It allowed me to do things, but it's not like I got rich doing it, right? Like, but it did allow me
yeah,
to do
yeah.
things. It allowed me to travel and stuff. And I did it pretty frugally, but I also didn't, have like hundreds and hundreds of patches sold for, $20 a piece. That would be a whole different thing. But yeah, if you brought a $20 patch in, and let's say it cost you, back in the day, it would have cost you $5 to get that patch. Nowadays, maybe it's more like
Hmm.
7, 10 even. I don't know. I haven't bought patches in a while. But let's say worst case scenario, it costs you $10 nowadays. You sell that thing for 20, you're still doubling that money, and that's allowing you to maybe pay for, like you're saying, the hotel or the travel to the place. If you sold a shit ton of them, they
Yeah.
might even get you to the next place type of thing. And how
So
different is that than like a band selling their t-shirts out front or somebody writing a book
see,
and selling their books out front?
what got me with how much money it costs, where it's like, yeah, they're cheaper hotels, but I'm looking at it, right, and it's like, how far outside of Atlanta do you go? Because it's not like it's a quick drive, right? To get to the event because I'm getting there before it opens. So I need to arrive like 8:30 in the morning. Well, that's when rush hour is well and good in Atlanta. So now, do I wake up at 6 o'clock? You know what I mean? So I can get close to the venue at 8, and you pay for it was like all of that went into it, and then how much money am I saving? Because of course, NRA is there, so they jack the price up to all hotels, regardless. So you could pay what friggin'? Let me see some of the numbers I had. Yeah, I can pay $175 to be like 10 miles away, but I got to wake up at least an hour earlier than I already do to get to the venue. And you're still paying for parking there. And you don't know what part of Atlanta you're in if you're not from there. So you might be in a part of Atlanta that your car is gone when you get up in the morning, or you're getting carjacked when you're coming back. Because again, you don't know if you're not from there what part of Atlanta has that crap happen.
How cool would it be if there was an
But
organization that was, I don't know, maybe a network or something could do it? Because there's a couple of networks out there, right? Podcast networks or YouTube channel networks. But if they would, I'm just thinking like the kind of RV that's a van, like not a van, a bus, like a whole full size, not like a school bus, but like a real big ass bus, so that you could get like two bathrooms maybe even in there. And
Hmm.
anyway, park a couple of them buses and then let people know, like, it's kind of dormitory, but it's, a nice bus RV. And you just park those at the venue in the parking lot. And, uh, then all you'd have to really do is get an Uber if you wanted to book off to a restaurant or
So
something. But, so hook those up for
they
media.
got that.
Like top 3 or 4. Oh, they do?
Well, they got the buses that run back and forth from the venue because
Oh, no,
that's what I
no. No,
took
I
the
mean,
first
like,
year I was in.
park them as RVs. And then that way you're just at the venue, like literally in the parking lot of the venue with
Oh,
kind of a nice little apartment with its own shitter and its own
oh,
office. So, like, maybe 2
almost like a
apartments per
mobile
bus.
Airbnb.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Almost
exactly.
like a mobile Airbnb.
And then a couple could
Yeah.
have, like have 2 apartments per bus, so that you get a pretty decent sized place in half a bus, and then bathrooms in the middle or something. You park those, and like I say, a couple could have one, or maybe 2 dudes could share one or something. Like, you and Gunfleet
Hmm.
or somebody show up as individuals. Like, you'd be able to have a thing with 2 beds or whatever, and then like an office, and anyway, you could have like 3 buses like that, and you could have quite a few people set. You know what I mean? Like, especially in a town where it's super expensive, like you're saying. I don't know.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It'd be neat.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's funny, but yeah, Atlanta had to figure out a way to freaking juice you for all the money you can find too. You know what
Oh
I
yeah,
mean? It'd be like, yeah,
yeah, that's true.
because it was $20 to park all day uh, in the parking deck. Then Stadium and the Georgia World Congress, all right beside each other, connected with a parking deck.
If I was going to
So, I mean, if you
Atlanta,
ever
I
see,
would
how
want
many people go to a ball game? I think what is it, baseball?
I have no idea. I don't know
Hmm?
anything about sports. If I was
Hello?
going to Atlanta, though, I would hope that Glock has some kind of cool thing for when their people are there. So I'd want to be in like the Glock suites, whatever Glock puts their people up in. I don't know if it's like on the Glock campus or what, but Glock is right outside of Atlanta, isn't it? Smyrna is like
Oh, Smyrna? Yeah. Glock's wife was there, man. She was there. I haven't seen her before until these last couple shows.
yeah. It seems like she's definitely not leaving Glock sit there whatever, like neglected. She's definitely taken part of the company. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, I don't know anything about the lady. I mean, look, I think the company concept was great. I don't know the guy. I know, people love pooping on anyone that's successful. And especially if you seem a little eccentric or whatever that they say Glock was. But why would I not want a company that does what it do to be successful and continue doing it after the guy who started it passed away?
Oh yeah,
I
I'm
mean, it
definitely
seems to me it's a success.
Glock is a phenomenon. Glock is like the company. The guy himself is neat, but the whole company and the gun and how it interfaces with everything. And dang, even now, like
Hmm.
it's all the haters, like the people that hate it as much as they can, are buying the fucking
Hmm.
clones of it and loving the fucking clones
Hmm.
in spite of the hate or something. Like, it's such a weird dynamic. And then the switches, like we were talking about, like that part of it, like the politics, it's still influential and all that shit. Like, it's just crazy how interwoven or like intertwined or whatever it is, like Glock is in our gun community, industry, culture, everything, all of it. It's just uniquely in there with the AR-15. And it used to be the 1911, and it used to be like the J frame, right? But it's like becoming the Glock, and the
Hmm.
AR-15 is just a uniquely interesting, and everybody hates it so bad that it just makes it even more of a thing. You know what I mean? Like their hatred forges, like, is the Damascus blade of it, like making it even more resilient into our industry. If they'd leave it alone and hated it, and by neglecting it, it might have gone this way of any of the other guns that came and went. But the opposite, it, like, the lovers love it and the
Well,
haters
whatever.
hate it, and it's never going away.
Yeah, I don't understand the hatred. Like, all right, hey, the Glock doesn't fit my hand, or I don't like the way the Glock points. You know what I mean? It's like I got to break my wrist over. Cool, got it. It's easier to shoot some other guns if you're used to that. That was the reason I didn't make Glock my first handgun as a civilian. You know what I mean? Because it just felt weird, and I didn't have anyone, teach me because I was in the military, so I don't need anybody's help. I know what I'm doing. I did not know what I was doing. Um, I get that, but to go, I hate Glock. I'm like, what the frig did Glock do to you, homie? Like, what did they do? Like, I understand if you went, hey, I don't like Smith and Wesson because of the way they compromised during the Clinton administration and the Hillary hole and yada yada. At least you got something to base it on. I don't like Springfield Armory, what they tried to pull in 2016. All right, cool, got you. You know, I'm kind of frustrated with PSA myself because they love to say they're, we're here for you, but you
It
won't ship a
was.
freaking lower. Yeah, you won't ship a lower to New Jersey. Um, yeah, unless there's any pushback from your attorneys general, and then we don't want a part of it. So yeah, I understand going, yeah, I don't want to support that company or that thing. Gotcha. But it's like
Yeah, but Glock really
you
hasn't. Well,
hate Glock.
they have done. Haven't hasn't Glock been one of those companies that have been like, oh, we're not selling to you, like we're not selling to your state. I mean, I know they have in California complied, but haven't they told like Massachusetts or Connecticut or somebody like, nah, we're not going to sell to your state. We'll sell to
I
your
don't know
product.
anything about that.
Yeah. Okay, I might be conflating stuff because I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, look, just because I don't know about it doesn't mean it's not true. Somebody may be just screaming at the freaking computer right now, going, "How do you not know that?"
Yeah.
Don't know everything. Trust me, my wife tells me all the time I don't know everything. Actually, she
Well,
said I
here's
don't
the
know
thing:
anything.
we're 3 hours into a show, so at least me, I get a little burnt
Yeah.
out after talking for this long. So it's possible that it's right there, and we're just like not thinking, we're not focusing on that.
Yeah. So, but like I was saying, with Glock, excuse me, with PSA, with other companies, I can point out to why you might not like them. With Ruger and what they did with, law enforcement only sales of certain firearms. Like, but again, Glock has kept the Gen 3 Glocks going because of California. California was what kept Gen 3 Glocks alive because anybody else could have them, but you had to get on the roster in California. And they were like,
None of them
okay,
don't
well, this
sell,
is all they
then
can.
it's not worth discontinuing them. It's like they continually
Yeah.
sell them, and they can only sell those, or it's practical to sell those compared to starting a whole new one. So yeah,
Well, you need the amount of money you need to spend. Now, think about the Glock SKUs, and you have to send them 10 examples of everything. So that's different barrel lengths, that's different textures, like the RTB texture, that's different colors, that's different sight arrangements. If you have, Ameriglow sights on the Glock, they need 10 of those. They need 10 of them in every model if you're going to try to sell them. So that's why they were like, yeah, that's not worth it because the Gen 3 Glock and the Gen 5 Glock are the same damn thing. I'm sorry, but I went from a Gen 2 Glock to this gun that I'm getting in hopefully shortly after I get all my paperwork done of the Glock 45 clone from Lone Wolf, a 19X, the Dust 19, I think it's got the Dust 19X is something I'm getting in from Lone Wolf on Arms.
I kind of want to buy some of the discontinued ones. Now that you said that, made me think like as a
Hmm.
collector, like dang it, because I always kind of wanted a Gap, but I never was going to buy a
Yep.
Gap. I mean, if I would have seen a Gap for like
No.
$150, I'd own a Gap. And same thing with the Sig. Is it Sig? No, what was the other? Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm thinking Sig.
Yeah, the SIG.
But I own
Yeah.
barrels, so I can turn my guns into Sigs if I want to. Um,
Yeah, but
it
that's not
doesn't
the
have to
point.
be
Is to get the model. Yeah. Is to
well,
have that
the
Glock
ones that are no longer,
30
like
whatever the friggin' SIG one
however
is.
many
Say,
they made is how many there are. Period. And then
yeah.
every year they're getting lost and falling off of boats, literally, and like burned in fires and lost and sold and got just taken off the put into people's collections and never to be seen again type of thing. So yeah, the numbers are going to start dwindling. I mean, pretty fast because there's can't
So
be
I
that
mean,
many
again,
gaps out there.
there's not that many. I mean, that's like getting a Glock 17L. Well, why would I want a Glock with a 6-inch barrel? Because there's very few made,
Yeah, I
and
have
they
an L
have,
and a
I mean,
24.
you have a what?
I have an L and a 24 because they're freaking wicked.
Yeah.
Plus, I just wanted to complete the collections of all the sizes. Well, at least back in the day. Man, I think that's still. I got out of all the sizes narrow, but I had all the sizes long, I guess.
Yeah, I like them. I like the idea. That's why I got 36. Um, my whole thing is I'm going to carry that appendix.
Yeah, I carried a
People act like it's
34,
huge.
the 40 version of the 36.
Hmm.
Other way around. But whatever. I had the medium long. Like there's the small, there's the 19, there's a 26, a 19, and a 17. And then what is it, the
Hmm.
34? No, the 36 and then
Hmm.
the 17L.
36.
So
Yep.
the
Yep.
34 is the 36 and 40, I think. And that's what I carried for the longest time. I owned a 17, or I guess the 24. But that was just for playing around and making videos and stuff. I think it's even too long for competition. It doesn't fit in the box or something. That's why they had to make
Yeah, it's too long for competition.
But anyway, it was
Tactical, practical.
fun. Like you say,
Yeah.
it's just a neat thing to have or whatever. But I like, well, anyway, now we're talking about Glocks for some reason.
Hmm.
Well, we're at 3 hours. Do you want to wrap it up? I mean,
Yep.
I'm sure you have other things to be doing.
Yeah. Let's end this because
After a couple of weeks,
I'm
it felt like
starving.
I was out of my routine or whatever. I'm the same way. I'm getting ready to eat something here. I think I'm gonna cook or start up my barbecue and cook up some, we call them baked potatoes, over the coals. Just because I got some
Hmm.
potatoes that are gonna go bad at some point, and instead of doing something electric, I think I'm gonna throw some coals on there, or throw them on some coals.
Nice. Yeah, I
Um,
think I'm gonna go and get a
go ahead.
pizza.
Oh dang, I'm waiting
Yeah.
on air, but it'll be a little while before I'm eating a pizza. But I've been wanting a pizza pretty bad. I kind of want to get one of those
All right.
outdoor pizza ovens where you cook them outside on a big stone.
Ooh.
Well, it's on a stone,
Mm-hmm.
big I shouldn't say, but it's like dedicated pizza ovens. I guess you could bake other things in there. Oh, we have the
Mm-hmm.
show plugged in to send people over to Brooke's channel when this is over. Mental Health Matters is on every Saturday. Actually, that brings up a couple of things before we don't have to ditch out unless you need to book out of here. I wanted to do a plug for the show. So an hour, 90 minutes from now, hour and a half, Brooke will go live. And she's helping to normalize the conversation about mental health. It's not like it's a lecture series. It's not just a bullshit entertainment show, really. I mean, it's entertaining, but really it's a consistent effort to have a conversation about suicide prevention. She's not allowed to say that because her channel and others get dinked or whatever, get their channel strikes and all kinds of shit taken when you say the word suicide, because YouTube can't handle the nuance between, positive conversation and I suppose the negative connotations to that. But I guess with the bullying and shit is their justification for that. But it's frustrating. But anyway, to helping to create a ability for us to have a conversation amongst ourselves, since gun owners are pretty much the ones that are affected by the massive firearm suicide rate, 30,000 people a year, mostly military, law enforcement, first responders, people that are dealing with a lot of shit are the one, and people that understand how firearms work are the most affected by that. It's not as though that 30,000 is a bunch of kids that just have a whim and pick up a gun. That's an incorrect assumption. But the leading cause of the largest numbers of the firearms deaths are suicide, and that is something that can be addressed. And while it's not something that's addressed by just throwing money at it or getting enough views on a video or something, it's done by effort over time and through familiarity with the topic and being able to normalize the conversations. And Brooke does that. I guess it's a long ass way of saying it, that Brooke, puts effort into that for how many years now? Like for a long time. Singularly, I don't think anybody else is consistently putting out as much content to that end. And in the same same time, she also focuses on the normalizing the conversation on mental health. And again, between ourselves and the people on the other side who hate our property and hate our rights, they aren't paying attention to the things that they're not being fed. And in order to have effective conversations with them to change their minds, potentially bringing up things like these issues are super important. We can get ready now. It looks like
100%.
barbecue has showed up, so we can start beating around the bush and actually have the show. Anyway, so I wanted to take a minute and talk about Brooke's show. We do link to that one at this show ends, and YouTube will automatically take you over to Brooke's show. But then also, if you head over to my ex, I have pinned at the top a link to the Give, Send, Go for Sharon. Sharon.
Yeah.
I think of her S.A. Hinchcliffe. So
Yeah.
she's trying to raise about 20 grand to deal with cancer that's spread into bones, and well, I forget the other, but bones is enough, right? So cancer that has
Yeah.
spread, and she's an activist who's been a part of the community for a long time, and actually a very good asset to lots of people out there. So she's not necessarily a figurehead, but someone who's been invaluable. So I'm going to put a link to her Give, Send, Go. And like anything, it's a crowdfunding, and I can go on and on because I've been doing that tonight. But crowdfunding is just what it sounds like. A lot of people throw a couple of bucks in, and it's massively effective. I suggest if you have a couple of bucks to spare, it's certainly worth doing. But if you don't, or if you have and you want to do more, just sharing her campaign allows other people who might have $5 here and there, even $2 here and there, to contribute, which will accumulate and get the job done, which is pay for some bills for this cancer that has spread. So I think that it's worth our time once in a while to realize that we have this power for ourselves, when to keep our ranks up, right, and our morale up, but also because it exercises a muscle as capitalists and as activists that we have some play, we have some power, and raising $20,000 for a friend is not a big ask. It's not a big tough thing to do, and once we get accustomed to doing that, bring in $20,000. What would it look like if $20,000 was accumulated and spent on activism at each of the events that we've talked about tonight, or for rallies? Most rallies are done on no budget or like very small budgets. If $20,000 was accumulated and devoted to rallies, what would that look like? And what would the optics be for the world when not a Bloomberg, but instead a bunch of people came together and created epic rallies that were more like state fairs, because they were festivals of the celebration of our rights and how cool guns are and all the different ways. And it brought together people like a gun show, except, for our rights. And what if that was done by a bunch of people with crowdfunding? So how do you practice that? Go give fucking Sharon some fucking money. So what we do as capitalists, it's our power. And again, if you're not interested or able, then share the campaign. It's the way that what's the word? Like, back in the old days, we had pamphlets. It's like our soapbox. It's the way that we share information. And the way that you share information is by fucking saying stuff once in a while. And if you're going to say something to practice, just talk about Sharon's plight. It sucks that we have to only talk about things like this when folks are in dire need. But what the fuck? That's when they need the help the most. Eventually, once we exercise these muscles, we start to send money to folks before they need it and when they can use it to grow. So, where you can fucking disregard everything I'm saying. But those are the two things I wanted to say at the end of the show here, before I forgot. And then I think there was something else that I'll remember if Tony starts telling us about the next diversity shoot, maybe.
Next diversity shoot is May 15th. Actually, right now I'm posting up Sharon's link on my page, Gibson Go on my page. Yeah, we're halfway there. We're at the halfway point to raising $25,000 for Sharon. Please do. She's a wonderful human being, a dedicated activist, an advocate, and she needs our help. Uh, my diversity shoots on the 15th. Please help. If you want to donate, share Sharon stuff, please. If you want to donate to us, you can do so at Diversity Shoot also. Anything helps. If you want to buy ammo, purchase ammo, what you can do is contact the ranges because the links are in the links are on my Diversity Shoot page of each range that we're at. And you can actually purchase ammo at 3 of the 4 ranges and just have it waiting for us at the Diversity Shoot, or you can drop it off at Recoil Range. So contact them, leave a note. It's for Tony's Diversity Shoot. They'll contact me um, if you want to really help us out. So funding helps us out because I'm about to make that big move now to become a 501c3. So you can find me at X at Second for Everyone. You can find me on Instagram at SimonSaysTrain. Also, Tony Simon on Facebook, or The Second is for Everyone on Facebook. I'm also on, what do you call it, Firearms Insider Gun and Gear Review podcast every Tuesday. I try to be here every Saturday. Also, we have the Second is for Everyone podcast. Check that out. We'll be hitting the 100 episode, and that's going to launch my NRA coverage. That's coming up shortly. And yes, and Locked, Cocked, and Unfiltered is the new podcast. You can go and find that on YouTube and give us a follow. And you can also check us out on your favorite podcast app and give us a follow there. That's the new show between me, Clayton, and Chris. And we're just getting word out, talking about training, activism, and gear, that kind of thing. So please help us out if you can. Really appreciate it. Again, donate to me, donate to Sharon. And if you can't, just share the work we both do and did. And Sharon just needs the money because it's really, really, really expensive to fight cancer. So I'm posting stuff up right now on her because I slacked. I should have it almost pinned to the top of my stuff. So I'm going to work at that.
Well, it's not
But
like a
thanks,
thing
everybody.
where, none of us are at the level where we say, I'm bringing awareness to this issue, and like $25,000 piles in. Like if we were at that level, then it would be
Mhm.
like, I would feel bad. Like, oh shit, I should have done that yesterday. But we're realistically at a level where it's going to take weeks, months, a while for someone to accumulate $25,000 worth of small donations. So it's really, I don't want to say beneficial, but it's necessary almost to continually bump that message. You don't get to just do it once and it piles in. It's a
Mhm.
necessity to do it. So in other words, nobody should feel bad if like, oh, this campaign's been going on for a week or something or a month. Like it's just a tug of war. Like who cares how long the game's been going? Grab a hold of the rope and pull. Like that's all that matters. So yeah, it's not a time thing, I guess I'm saying. I mean, obviously, we'd like to see
Yeah.
that money as soon as possible, but because we don't have that we haven't exercised that muscle enough
Oh.
that we have the kind of community. Because there are communities out there that will pour money onto things. Like I've seen some stuff where, I don't know, like a sick puppy or something will happen, and it's just like, boom, all of a sudden there's money. Like obviously at the national level,
Mhm.
I've seen some crazy amount of money is being raised for just the weirdest things. But there's communities where that's a thing. And like I say, but when you think about it over time, our firearms community has been very generous. What's the word? Like uh what's the word, benefactory or whatever. But we throw money around. It's just that there needs to be like that. We need to it needs to be part of the uh, I don't know, the dynamic at the time. I don't know, like, well, I'm trying to think of like when maybe during an election, all of a sudden you'll see, or when it is during the ATF comment periods, it was like donate to the 3-level organization because this is a time when we're under attack. Like we get out our wallets when we need to, when we're told to, and when it's like, okay, it's an election time, let's get out our wallets and start donating to the people that are going to be needing it. We know what to do. We just don't do it every. We're not rich. We're not throwing it. We're just not doing it every 5 minutes on a whim, I guess. But I do think that it's worth putting effort to doing it more often than just when it's necessary, just when it's dire. I'm rambling.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things that we don't do, and it's annoying. People love to. Oh, it's e-baking. Hey, bruh, stop.
No. It's exercising our financial muscles as capitalists. And we suffer because the other side, it sucks. The other side has a fucking billionaire dude, not because he has $1 billion, but because he can prime the pump. He can take $1 billion $1 bills and put them into $1 billion tip jars and go, hey, everybody tip if you want to, like this guy did. And then a bunch of people start throwing their money in there. Like, yeah, he has money, but he's not spending his money. He has money to get other people to throw in. And, they hide behind, we're here for the children, or we're here for the safety, or we're here for we hate them, or we're here because we hate Trump too. He hides behind that shit, but he's making money. And I'm pretty sure when time gets done looking at this and we get an organization like a John Lott that is like a robot or something, somebody's going to take a look at this fucking 2022 Republican-backed, bipartisan gun bullshit law that pays $40 billion to the states that do the most worst red flag laws over the next 5 years or whatever. I'm pretty sure that just paid Bloomberg back. I keep saying it, but that seems like a massive, let's pay Bloomberg back, or maybe even let's just pay Bloomberg. Like, I don't even know if, like I say, I don't think he's putting out a lot of money. I think he has a lot of money and he initiates stuff, but I think if he really laid money into it, we'd fucking know. They always say, like, you were saying earlier, like, gun owners, blah, blah, blah. You'd know if we were mad. Like, yeah, you'd know if Bloomberg really hated guns, because he's got more fucking money than just about everybody on the planet. And he can, if he hated guns and he wanted to be known as the guy that got rid of guns, he could just buy all our fucking guns. If you think about it, he could literally just buy all our fucking guns. I mean, that's a thing. Like,
I mean, he's got the money.
Start buying them and throwing them in the lake. Or big.
He's got the money, and he's got the money, and politicians don't have. And politicians are for sale. So he could push something huge, and we'd just all be standing here like agape. Guess what, buddy? All that crap you talking, vote from the rooftop. Yeah, now all of a sudden it's poop or go time, bro. I don't say that. I don't want to vote from the rooftop, man. I just had to climb up and get my shoes shined the other day, and I was looking at going, that's a long way up, bro. As I'm getting my boots shined in the prison. I'm not voting from a rooftop.
I'm going to ask my robot 2 questions here. So the first one is,
okay,
how much money does Michael Bloomberg have in 2025? I don't know if it'll answer me this one or not, but I'm asking it. And it says
Michael Bloomberg's worth,
yeah, 104 billion according to Forbes. 104 billion. So now the second question I'm going to ask it is, how many guns could I buy for $104 billion? Oh, it didn't take the question. Hold on, let me delete that and go. How many guns could I buy for $104.7 billion? Oh, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to say at an average of 500 per gun, just so that it's not stupid. Right? So it's not unreasonable. That would be, how many guns inside? I'm going to ask it a third question. How many guns are in the United States in 2025? Okay, so the robot's answering. What do you think that answer to the last question is? How many guns are in the United States?
400 million.
Yeah, that was fucking amazing, dude. It's 398.5. You were off by 1.5 million guns. That's pretty good. And over 500. Oh, wait, no, it says, okay, it says between 398.5 and 500, but still, that's a fucking great guess. So 400 million guns. How many guns do you think at $500 a piece, which we all know is a bullshit number because there's so many cheap guns, right? So at $500 a piece, how many guns can you buy at $104.7 billion, the network of Bloomberg, the guy who hates guns so bad? How many?
You can buy every gun 70 times. You can buy it 70 times over.
Not that many. It's like you could buy half the guns. He could buy half the guns. According to this, he could buy 200.
You could buy half the guns?
He could buy half the guns.
Wait a minute.
209 million guns.
Okay, that's
But I
weird,
said
but all right.
500 apiece. But that's 500 apiece. That's a pretty whack number. He
Yeah,
could
okay.
buy a
No,
lot of other guns
I
for less
was.
than.
You said $109 billion or 110. How many billion does he have?
Bloomberg, according to my robot, has 100 and let's say $105 billion, and that's
Okay.
divided by $500 each. That comes out to 209 million guns. And according to my
Wow.
robot, there's somewhere around 400 million guns, like you said. So that's about half the guns. So he could just buy half the guns, put them in a big pile, and say, "I've accomplished peace" or something. I've gotten like half of world peace because I bought half the guns in the United States.
Yeah.
I don't see him doing it though. I'm just saying, money where your mouth is, guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
put
you
your money
figure
where
how
your
many
mouth is, buddy.
I said how many guns are in the United States, and it included law enforcement, military. So that's, you got to take 5 million away for the military and law enforcement. So sorry, there's only 395 million guns that he has to buy because he can't buy those.
Oh no, I'm over here. Look, I don't sell firearms, but if you're gonna give me $500 for this high point pistol, she gone. She gone. Oh, it's gone. So is the Ruger. So is the this. Oh yeah, yeah. Brother's shopping though. I'm going shopping immediately afterwards.
That's interesting. That's where the robots are fun. So every once in a while, don't be scared of the robots. They can be fun for quick answers like that, assuming they're right. I mean, we're going to assume those are right numbers.
Yeah.
All right. With that being said,
Have fun with your future overlord.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Check out Brooke's show next. Foss will be up later. Hillbilly does a show tonight. San Diego Gun Owners was in here earlier. They do a show. Does Gun Food do a podcast? Gun Food was in here earlier.
Not that I know of.
Barbecues, he's often a host, or he's often a guest on podcasts, though. So you can probably check out a couple of. I know he's standing around. I seen him. I thought I seen him at between like either I was watching like Armed Atlas or somebody. I don't think I watched Charlie there.
Mm-hmm.
It might have been Matt. But anyway, I thought I seen him near the. But
yeah, he did. He did like 6 shows. He did like 6 podcasts.
Right,
I even interviewed him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But then Barbecue, I think, has a show coming up. JJ is part of Brooke's show when that comes up later on. There's Foss. Just noticing a bunch of people who are in here today are part of the podcast world. So thanks everybody for joining us. Ozzy's out there letting us know about iGold, Illinois Gun Owners Lobby Day, which has been going on for a long time and was responsible for Illinois getting concealed carry back in the day. Everyday Carry had said 2A isn't going anywhere anytime soon. I think that's a great sentiment to leave it on. Thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you next week.